Okay, ready when you are.
I want to welcome everybody to Brighton Architecture Review Board on April 27th. Our first order of business will be just mentioning any safety items. If you need to leave the session, let us know for any emergency reasons, or make sure your feet are clear of any cords, etc. If you got to get up and walk around. First order of business will be approval of the minutes from March 23rd, 2020. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
Can I get a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Jeff, please note that the minutes from March 23rd are approved as presented. First on old business on our agenda is 7AR-5-20, revised 2253 South Clinton Avenue, Razi Architects, revisions to an approved facade alterations to building 1. Are our presenters here?
Yes, he's here.
Hi, welcome.
Good evening. How are you? Nate Razi from Razi Architects.
Nate, one go ahead.
Sure. So this came before you a little while ago. The plaza here was the owner would like to redo the facades on all of the buildings in this plaza. Subsequent to that review and approval by the ARB, the owner of the plaza received interest from a tenant in this building. Due to the nature of that tenant, the height of this existing building will not comply with codes. We can't get legal ceiling heights with the structure height that is in place here. So the plan is to demolish the building down to the first floor and then build back up off of that floor plate, utilizing the same materials that you reviewed and approved last time, and with very similar geometry to that application, just a few feet taller.
So what is the ceiling height according to code that you need?
The bottom of structure of the current facility is about 8 feet, which by the time we get mechanicals and things in there, would my head would hit the ceiling. So that does not comply with Department of Health required codes, and per the application here, this tenant would be seen as a new use under the Department of Health, and therefore could not be grandfathered as may be possible under the New York State Building Code.
Okay, we all set on the presentation? Mary, any comments?
No, thank you.
Casey?
Were we gonna go through? Were there more drawings to go through? Is that the old, that's the old one though, in front of us.
Yeah, the same design, I guess, from what I understand,
This is
but they're
the new one. I think there's some slight differences to the one facade.
So can he go through and tell us what the changes are?
There we go. I was going to say,
Mr. Razi?
sorry, I wasn't allowed to unmute. Yes, so what Jeff has up now is the new.
Thank you. Sorry.
So the change is, as you can see, the massing there at the left, the rectangular mass. There was previously an entrance in that location, which was is not needed. Was going to be abandoned if. So that is now a glass point. Again, the massing of that very similar to what you saw on the previous previous application. So this I think cleans up the massing. There aren't extraneous elements that we were trying to work around in the previous application due to the existing building and 60s form that was there.
Casey, does that answer any questions for you?
I just haven't had a chance to wrap my head around what the changes are. So,
You want me to come back to you?
yes.
Okay, Chris, any comments?
No, so I wasn't part of the prior submission, so I mean, I don't.
So what do you think of this one?
Like Casey, I was just kind of seeing it for the first time here, and you know, I don't have any objection at the moment.
Okay, Andrew?
Yeah, so Nate, just a couple questions. I know that we had gone around the horn a little bit about the window and the window heights and then the Eaves panels on the top, and it appears that you're going to be doing that again. Is it still the intent to reutilize the existing windows? Or was there the ability to elongate those windows, or did you look at that?
So we're not reutilizing the existing windows now that we're constructing new. We do have some elongated windows with some spandrel panel in here. So we have elongated the windows in certain locations to get that verticality. There are some instances where we have the windows with Eaves panels up above, again, trying to keep in matching with the other 5 buildings that will have the Eaves panel.
Okay, and I see that those Eaves panels on the north elevation and the south elevation, and actually the west elevation has them as well. Okay.
Correct, and you can see that there's some kind of stippling, hatching in both the north and south and east elevations in the windows. That's spandrel glass. So those actually are some taller window units, although opaque in the areas where it's above the ceiling.
Okay. Okay. And again, just to verify, I mean, you're keeping this design so it's consistent with the design of the other buildings in the area. Do you anticipate you will have the same issue with some of the other buildings as you move forward?
I don't. I hope not, at least. But again, if we do have that, we would be committed to coming back to the board and getting approval for any changes at that point in time.
Okay. And so if I can go, Jeff, if you could flip back to that first image that was up, and could you just and please correct me if I'm incorrect here, Nate, but that darker portion of the structure with the double door coming out on the right-hand side, is that a new piece now? Is that what you're referring to?
Sorry, got muted again. Yes, that was there in the previous. That was there in the previous application too. If Jeff wants to flip back to that, it sticks out a little bit further now to accommodate a sprinkler as part of this. With demolishing the building and rebuilding it up, we are adding a sprinkler system, and we needed to find room to add the sprinkler riser room. So we're going to do that in that energy vestibule. It does stick out just a little bit further than it did in the last elevation or the last application, but the spot that's kind of center of the rendering, right there where Jeff's hand is the part that I was referring to. That was a previous entry that's no longer planned for the new.
Okay, so there are two revisions here: the elimination of that one entranceway and just the making that other entranceway larger for all the reasons you spoke. Okay, thank you.
Brian?
No, I think this was fine. Thanks.
Fran?
Will there be any rooftop units that will be visible?
No. So one of the things that we've worked with the developer on for this is to make this building a geothermal system. So to the greatest extent possible, we're not going to have any rooftop equipment that would be visible.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Back to Casey.
Okay, so I've compared both elevations. There's actually a lot of changes. It's not as simple as just an entryway. So I guess one of the big questions is going to be for south elevation number 5. You had previously a wall of windows to the right of the entrance. Now it's a wall of brick with just a hollow metal door. I guess I'm a little confused by that being the front. I mean, is that the main entrance?
The main entrance is the double doors, kind of right where Jeff's hand is.
Right.
We've added significantly more windows to the left of that than what was in the previous application. Kind of as a replacement.
Okay. And I guess there's some odd groupings of windows. And so the far right of south elevation, you've got the 2 windows that are kind of off center in your more like corner tower element. And then the far left, where you've got the 3 windows, you've got the one kind of spaced oddly. I mean, I think there's much better composition in the previous version. I'm kind of confused on what's driving some of these weird shifts.
Some of those are driven either by structural elements and avoiding those, or by interior plan layout.
Okay. And then what about the smaller windows up in the north elevation? Those are all large windows to the left of that door. Now they're all high, small windows up high.
There's a stair that's actually right there where the it says brick retaining wall. There's a stair that goes down there, so that those windows would be kind of over right next to a walk path down to an exit stairway, and behind into a patient care area. So those were eliminated down low.
Okay. And where are these 2 elevations in relationship with the actual site, as far as front, side, you know, what's front facing or parking lot facing versus what might be backing up to another building in the complex?
Parking lot facing is the south elevation. So that's the kind of the main entry elevation.
Mhm.
And then the north elevation to the left side of the north elevation is kind of towards the corner of South Clinton and Westfall.
Okay. Okay. And then as far as the materials go, is it comfort panels? Is that the same as before or different? Because the other one said would look resilient.
Yeah, so same exact materials as we have applied with before.
Okay. And then the same thing with the Eaves above, kind of creating a false panel above the windows.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Chris?
Hi, yeah, I have a question on that north elevation. The bank of windows towards the left side of that elevation, is that primarily spandrel glass that we're looking at there?
It is. We wanted to respect the fact that that's the street side and that comes towards the corner. So we didn't want to not have an element there to properly address the public face. But that said, the ratio of back of house to front of house for this particular user is such that they do not want, can't have glass in a large portion of the building. So it's spandrel glass, but it is glass. We wanted to make a gesture towards that facade, towards the public face.
So did some of this masting or this fake massing that's happening with these Semfort or Chemfort panels, is that just hanging over from the prior design? Or was there some thought to where and how those were deployed throughout the design?
Yeah, we tried to push those elements towards the corner, again, to address the corner and the presence of the building on the street view, but be respectful of the fact that there are 5 other buildings on this site that have very similar massing and identical materiality that are approved and will be going up very soon as well.
So it's just this building that had to be raised and rebuilt, as it were.
Correct. The others, the approval still stands, and at least one of the other facades is planned to be done at the same time that this building construction is underway.
All right, that's all I have, Stuart.
Thank you. Mary, you have anything to add?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay. I think the only comment I have is just I look at your plan and I can see how it works, but when I look at the elevation, having that utility entrance right next to the main entrance, that massing there bothers me. I see the recovery room, understand why you have a blank wall. But I think that's something we'll talk to everybody else about. So I'm going to close this presentation. I don't.
Stuart, one point, just a point. I think that there has been some discussion of having some signage on that eyebrow of a lower roof there, kind of where it says EPIS 1 as well, to kind of help balance that. But we don't have signage as part of this application, so that was something that was discussed as kind of part of that composition as well. If that helps.
Well, thank you. Do you want to roll into your next presentation? 11AR-1-15, 158 Sawgrass. Door addition to the north elevation.
Sure. Separate project over at 158 Sawgrass Drive. There's a COVID testing clinic that's going in the first floor here as part of creating a one-way flow so that as patients come into the waiting room and then would be able to discharge without re-entering and potentially recontaminating other people in the waiting room, they need to add a door to the exterior. The door, they actually added this already, unfortunately, prior to us coming here. So you see the door in the picture as shown there. They made an attempt to have that blend into the storefront, be unobtrusive. There would also be a concrete ramp or sidewalk that connects between the door and the public way.
Okay, thank you. Mary, you have any comments?
No, thank you.
Casey?
Nope.
Chris?
Appreciate the photorealistic rendering. Thank you.
Andrew?
No, but Nate, you may be outside of our purview, but ADA accessibility to said door is going to be accommodated. Is that correct?
That's correct. And Patty has drawings for that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Brian?
No, I think I'm all set. Thanks.
Okay. Fran?
I'm good, thank you.
You bet. I have no comment. And Nate, I want to thank you for presenting. You can call Jeff's office in the morning and get our answers.
Great. Thank you all. Have a great evening.
You bet. You too.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Nate.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Next on our agenda is 1AR-3-21, 99 Westland Ave, Architectura, alterations to an approved porch plan. Hi, welcome.
Hi, I'm Teresa Bender from Architectura. I presented back in January for the Ringo residents. Since then, Mrs. Ringo has had a chance to really kind of look at her future porch and has decided to make a couple little changes. The biggest change is she really wanted to keep the depth of her existing stoop, the width of it, which is about 10 feet, and then her staircase as well, which is about 7'6". So the ultimate goal is to just keep her existing roof shape as well as the fascia of it, and just pull it out 10 feet so that she can have a nice big porch on the front. So this whole shape of the existing porch will stay. It got a little bigger just because we wanted to put some columns in there for structure, but not, it might have grown a foot in width from what the existing is. Other than that, everything stayed the same, materials and such. So
Okay. All right, thank you. I'll open it up to the board now. Mary, you have any comments?
Teresa, it looks like the renderings are, the porch is shallower in the renderings than in the elevations. Are those the recent renderings?
yes, those are the recent renderings. No, but the porch is still the same width.
No, the depth of the porch, I'm saying. It looks different in the elevation than in the renderings to me.
I think it's just perspective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mary, you all set?
Yeah, that was my only question.
Okay,
Thanks.
you bet, Mary. Casey?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Chris?
No question, just a comment. The mass of this, I compared this to what was submitted prior, and the massing of this is just totally different. What are your thoughts about that? Was the resulting design with the proportion of the porch to the existing house, did you discuss that with your client, and was there any conversation about maybe trying to mitigate that a little bit?
Yeah, I actually have done probably 4 different designs for this porch. I think it just came down to her desire to really keep the look of what is there already, and just pulling that out and then adding the shed roof to close in the rest of the porch. So it's really hard to get away from the massing of it with the slope that she still wanted to keep, and the width of the entrance of it.
That's a good point. I was just wondering, I'm looking at the demo drawing on the original submission. What drove this roof to get so much higher than the existing? If the goal is to maintain the existing width, why did now?
Right, well, the existing drawings are not completely drawn. We were able to kind of look at it a little bit closer with how she wanted it. And we were able to look at the slope a little bit more. So the existing drawings are not drawn accurately. It is that high in real time. It is just under her existing bathroom window, the peak of the roof. Yeah.
So Teresa, Stewart here.
Yep.
So your peak is lined up with the center of that bathroom window?
Yeah, it's just off the way it's built, but yeah, it's just under the peak of the bottom of that bathroom window.
Okay.
Yeah.
I apologize for going out of order here.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Chris, are you all set?
Set for now.
Okay, Andrew?
No, I'm set for now. I don't have any questions right now.
Okay, Brian?
I think I'm all set. Does the overhang on the porch match the overhang on the main house?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All set. Thanks.
Thank you. Fran?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, I am all set at this point. So Teresa, thank you for your presentation this evening.
Thank you, guys.
You can call Paul, Jeff's office in the morning and get our answer.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is 3 AR-2-21, 86 Seminole Way, Hunt Architecture. Enlarge the kitchen and entry, demo and rebuild the garage. Are the Hunts here?
Hi, Scott Ross, the owner is here.
Hi, Scott.
Hi.
Go ahead.
We presented last month and you asked for a couple of changes, 3 of them. To the left of the overhead garage doors, there originally was going to be a door there. We changed that to a window. We moved the door around the corner to the right in the backyard. You can see the door there now. And we raised the height of the eaves kind of above the new side entrance.
Okay. Mary, you have any questions?
I'll wait to hear everyone else because I looked at this before and I'm just still getting used to it.
Okay. Casey, you're up.
Okay, so the one on there is different than the one that got sent out by Jeff. I see hatch work. Does that hatch represent, I mean, what's the material and is it matching the existing or is it a contrast?
No, it matches the existing. It's the house is original stucco from 29 and we're going to try to match it the best we can.
Okay, but you're not doing anything to the primary front door with the small window above it, even though that's hatched. It's starting to the left, right of that.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, for now, I'm kind of with Mary. For now, I appreciate that you did address our comments. I guess my only thing, the offset garage door is still odd. And I'm not, can you refresh our memories why it's not centered within the addition?
This is my wife. I'm going to let her step in as I step out.
Hi,
Oh,
everybody.
there's stairs. Okay.
It just lets that area, that's that back entrance to the kitchen, have its own little entryway in the garage.
Okay. Okay.
All set.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions at this point.
Chris, you're up.
Oh, no questions right now.
Okay, Andrew?
No, I thank you for making some of these revisions. That eave detail is much, much better for an entrance coming into that secondary doorway. I still have the question about the offset doors in the garage, but I understand what the making of the internal of the garage is, and so the need to have that bit of an offset. So I don't have any other questions at this point.
Okay. Brian?
I don't have any additional questions. I think this looks better. Thanks.
Fran?
No, I just want to remind myself again that the garage doors it's a larger garage door because of you have a maintenance truck or a very large vehicle that has to be accommodated. That's correct, right? Remembering
That's
this.
correct, yeah.
Okay.
Like a full pickup with a ladder rack on the top, so it's
Right.
tall.
Okay. Thank you. No other questions.
Just one question. Your dormer's been eliminated on the garage?
Dormer. Oh, where's the dormer on the garage?
Right side elevation. It's got a slash through it. And it's not in your front elevation.
That's the main, I think
Oh,
that's the
I'm
main
sorry.
house.
That's on the house. Sorry, my misread.
That's okay. You lost.
I have
me,
no,
too. Oh, I see the slash you're talking about. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, we're keeping that.
you got a new dormer now.
So I have a,
Um,
I have a question or a comment. Is it okay if I go?
Yep.
I apologize if we already talked about this the first time this came in, and I think this is kind of a recurring problem. You know, people have said the primary and the secondary door, but I really can't tell which one is the primary or the secondary, looking at the facade. There's no kind of distinction
think if-
between those two. Did we talk about that? When it
If
was
you look at the picture, Mary, what's hard is there's no depth, right? So when you look at our house from the front, the depth is very clear and the secondary door is set much farther back. And
Sure.
it's kind of actually in this little shadowed area.
Mhm.
So-
That's way far back then.
Yeah. It's,
Okay.
yeah.
All righty, thank you.
Yep. Chris, I'm gonna come back to you. Any more comments? Or Andrew,
Going
one
on
of
right
you
now.
guys. Okay. Andrew, do you have anything else to add?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you for presenting this evening. You can call Jeff's office in the morning and get our answers.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Next, we're on to new business. First up is 4AR-1-21, 55 Elmore Road, Jack Keenan. Removing the existing stoop and replacing with a 10-foot by 20-foot covered porch. Is Jack here?
Yes, hello, I am here.
Okay, welcome. Please start your presentation.
Yes, so our current house is just a flat front, center entrance colonial. We currently have an existing stoop there. My wife and I, we have two small young children. It's actually quite a hazard. Again, because the door swings out, so the kids have to back up and down the stoop. And we actually, unfortunately, had a little girl fall trick-or-treating this fall. Luckily, she was okay. But we would just like to bring that out further and expand it and be able to utilize that space outdoor, with just seating and family and with our kids. So it would be a 10 by 28 front porch, shed roof to match the existing structure's roof. It will be, all the trim and everything will be white. It'll have black architectural shingles to match the existing house. The flooring will be it's a Duralife composite decking, which is like a light to medium gray.
Anything else? Did we lose them?
Oh,
Mary, you have any comments?
No, I guess Andrew might want to make his usual gutter comments, but
I see one drawn in there, but I don't see it called out.
oh, I don't see it.
Um,
You mean where the fascia is? Let's see.
looks like a
I'm
little
sorry, what's
square.
Yeah.
Trim.
Was there a design for the rainwater collection off of that roof, Jack?
there will be just a single gutter that's running from south to north along the roof line, and it'll drain. It'll come down the north post. Yeah, it'll come down there.
Okay. You don't have one on the upper roof, or it's just not drawn?
That is, but that comes down on the actually north side of the house. There's a
Okay,
wraparound to it.
thank you.
Yes.
Casey,
I do not have any questions or comments. Thank you.
Chris?
So just dimensionally, this porch is 10 feet deep from the front of the house to the, like approximately where the railing is.
Correct, yeah, the depth will be 10 feet.
Does your scale match up with that?
It does, the entire elevation's drawn to scale.
Chris, you all set?
I'm good for now.
Andrew?
I have a question for Jeff first. Does this require variances? Are they inside of the front setback?
It does require a variance. And I think he's working with Rick.
Okay, so you do need the variance to allow that to occur.
Yes.
I guess and I noticed that you do have lattice underneath the porch, which is good. Thank you, Mary, for asking the questions about the gutter. That was always it's always a concern because we see downspouts in different locations that really disturb the architectural character of some of these additions and such. I really don't have any other further questions to ask.
Okay. Brian?
I have a couple questions. One, how's the ceiling being finished? Are you adding electrical, and is there a rail on those 3 steps?
So the first question, with the ceiling will be vaulted. It's going to be tongue and groove pine, which will be painted white again to match what's currently there as far as the house goes. There will be a railing on both sides of the stairs, so from the north and south elevations. And electrical, there's currently in the existing stoop, there is an overhead light that's centered above the existing stoop that will then just be essentially transferred up into the vaulted ceiling.
Okay,
Can you
great.
clarify for me, when you say a vaulted ceiling, are you saying that it's going to slope? Or are you saying you're actually going to have like a vault, a barrel or some sort of vault running the length of the porch?
No, so it'll just be sloped. So the tongue and groove pine will be fastened to the bottom of the rafters.
Chris, you all set?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Fran?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. And I am all set as well. So thank you, Jeff, or Jack, for presenting. You can call Jeff's office in the morning and get our answer.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is 4AR-2-21, 295 Antlers Drive, Teresa Fitzgerald, a deck addition to the southwest corner of an existing house. Is Teresa here?
I don't know if she's on. I thought she
I'm
was.
here.
This is, oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, my son is here too, who, he didn't do this rough drawing, he did the other architectural drawings, but he is also on, Simeon Hendrickson. If we could let him in, he can explain a lot more than I can. If you can unmute him.
He's unmuted.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So basically, she has an existing concrete slab right in front of that entry door with one step. She basically just wants to add on with sleeper studs or sleeper joists on top of that concrete slab to get it up to the existing door level. So it'll actually be 2 steps up to the main deck and then extend out into the backyard by 8 foot and then die it back into that little alcove on the north facing north of the plan.
You guys are a corner lot?
Yes. We're on the corner of Elmwood and Antlers.
Okay. Jeff, does that change anything with the layout on this? It's 2 front yards?
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. Mary, any comments?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Casey?
I was just gonna ask the 6-inch extension on all the posts. Is there a purpose for that? Is there gonna be decorative cap? What was the
Yeah,
thought
so
there?
currently she has 6x6 construction on both corners supporting the roof. So we just wanted to keep that same aesthetic, to use 6x6s for the post to support the deck. And we're just gonna do a rim joist with 2x10 beams dying
Okay.
into each 6x6.
No, I was saying the 6-inch, so when you look at the elevation, A and B drawings, the post extends 6 inches above the railing.
Oh
Is
yes,
that-
we are gonna do post caps on top of those.
Okay. So more similar to the,
solar post caps for lighting.
okay, oh, for lighting?
Yep.
Okay, that was it.
Chris,
So that's not the main entrance to the house, or is it? That's just off the driveway.
This is off the driveway, it goes into the kitchen area. The main house faces Antlers.
Okay, got it. I don't have any other questions.
Andrew?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. Number one, in regards to your actual framing plan, it appears that if your joist will be running, I don't know how to describe the direction, but from the garage out toward the side lawn there. But it appears that your concrete pad from your doorway actually slopes toward the front of the garage. I just throw that out. I see that, and I just need to question to make sure that you have appropriate weatherproofing and or make appropriate ability of water to get off of that concrete pitch, so it's not trapped by each individual joist that might be laying on top, that sleeper joist that you're talking about. That's just a first comment. My second is that on the side elevation, on the side of the house, it does appear that you have a basement window. You also have a dryer vent. You also have a downspout coming down that side. I assume you've taken a look at all the other utilities in that area and making sure that a deck covering that space will not affect any of those other orifices coming into the basement or into the house itself. I guess the dryer vent is of concern. I'm not sure, is there a water spigot over on that side as well? I just want to make sure that you're taking a look at that and understanding that those may have to be relocated once the deck is established, because the dryer vent does look like it's a little bit higher than the actual stoop of the house. And so you put your sleeper joists on there, that'll raise above that dryer vent elevation.
Yeah, we definitely did intend to extend that dryer vent to be above deck level. As far as your other questions, I think the pros outweigh the cons for the basement window. I don't know if it's necessary to fill in that window with, say, glass block or concrete block, or if it's okay to close it off with the deck over the top of it. As far as the pitch on the deck, we definitely intended to run those joists, sleeper joists, and shim them up with composite shims so that the pressure treat isn't sitting directly onto the concrete. And then obviously fasten them back to the concrete. And one of the main reasons we did the framing plan in the direction it is because if you look at the decking plan, we really wanted to utilize the full 8-foot deck board without butt seams. So we ended up switching it back on that hip so that we can have a herringbone pattern on the corner and really maximize the length of that deck board.
Makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, those are the only comments. Those are the only things that I saw. I just wanted to raise. But otherwise, I think it looks relatively good.
Thank you, Andy. Brian?
I don't have any questions. I just had a general question, just for my own knowledge. The two boards that are on the corner there, in the framing plan. Do those get connected generally in the center?
So yeah, we are gonna do a box beam there. So basically I space those with a 2x4 on its side, above and below, so that you
Okay.
have nailer strips for that herringbone pattern to fall onto.
Okay,
Each
that's what
really
I was
big enough
wondering.
for the section view, right? So.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. All right, thanks.
Yep.
Fran?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. Maybe I just answered one of them, but I'm gonna jump on some of Andrew's comments. Just so you know, anytime you change the direction or length of a laundry vent, you lose efficiency and distance. So you want to make sure that your turns are applied properly. And then also, if it's so close to the deck surface, you want to make sure you're not getting blocked by snow buildup, and which can lead to carbon monoxide entering the home. And so make sure that you're covering yourself there. The other comment is your deck floor looks like it comes up to your threshold right under the door. Again, snow buildup there, and if your door swings from left to right, you're going to have a buildup between your door and the wall. So those are things I would comment on. The other thing that catches my eye in your photograph is your cinder blocks look like they may be losing their integrity on the surface, and you may want to check that if you're tying into them. So that's all I have. Anyone else have anything to add?
Nope.
Okay, you guys can call Teresa, you can call Jeff's office in the morning and get our answer.
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
And
You have a good night.
I didn't catch your son's name, so.
Oh, it's Simeon
Oh,
Hendrickson.
Simeon Hendrickson. Simeon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
everyone.
Have
much.
a great night.
Okay, thank you.
Next on our agenda is 4AR-3-21, 28 Dunroven Lane, Valerie Intini.
Yes.
Enclosing existing covered breezeway and converting mudroom to a pantry.
Yes. I'd also like to quickly, I'd just like to quickly state that Chris Costanza is also here to speak on behalf of 28 Dunroven. If there's any questions that I'm unable to answer at this time.
Uh-oh, we're in trouble. Okay, go ahead.
So the owners are looking to convert their existing covered breezeway into a new mudroom and pantry. So when it's enclosed, it'll be 134 square feet. There is currently already a raised concrete slab with an existing step at the north and south entrance currently. So there is no addition of a new step that needs to be involved. The new vinyl siding is going to match the existing vinyl siding of both the garage and the house. And the new windows and doors will also have a similar divided light system. So it matches the current facade design and look at the front and the back of the house as well.
Excellent. Mary, you have any questions?
So that's the front door that has a storm door in front of it?
It does. Yep,
Okay.
it's a double door.
Right. What does it look like behind the glass? Because it looks now like you have the more important door in the breezeway. It looks, the detailing and everything. So I'm just trying to understand what, you said it's the same kind of door, right?
It's following the same path of the door on the other existing side. The current door of the house and that area, it's green and it matches like the existing shutters currently, which are also that color, and it has like a small glass light. But when you're looking at the elevation, you see right through the glass and you see the dark green for the existing door.
Mary, this is Chris Costanza. That door is actually matching the existing door that's on the back of the building. So there's 2 new doors into this mudroom, and there's one existing door that has a divided light on the back, and we're matching that one.
Right, I was just concerned about the superior level of detail on the breezeway door vis-a-vis the front door. And so I was just asking what the front door looked like, because the storm door is shown, not the actual door behind it, not the architectural door, let's call it. So I understand, so thank you.
Back to Valerie.
Casey?
Yeah, so first one is the new, the new wall, the infill. You seem to have kind of a header board fascia that isn't existing on the current house. Is that intentional, or do you plan on matching the same details and how the siding is terminating at the eaves?
So if we are able to look at the other plans, the existing, there's actually a beam that goes across from where it connects from the concrete pad that's already there to the columns up to the roofing structure. So there's already that fascia, that like roof structure that connects it from one building to the other side of the building currently. So it's not removing that or covering that up.
Okay, so you're literally going to just bring your stud work in underneath that beam. But then what happens, all right, and then what about your fascia? I mean, then you've got a sheathing material and then your siding. So is that all tucked under that beam at that point?
So underneath the existing beam, we're going to have that be counter flashed over onto the siding. The existing beam will be proud of the siding by 1/2 an inch or an inch, so we have a little drip edge there. Okay. And then the face of the siding will be on the inside edge of that. So I mean, we didn't show you wall section details, but the way it will be working is we're keeping the existing header and basically building up the new wall underneath there and counter flashing into it.
Okay, all right, that does make sense. And then I guess my only comment, the thing that's a little odd to me is the 2 new windows. They don't relate at all with the existing windows. That is, that's a comment I'm going to bring up for our discussion later. I would, prefer obviously to see the divided light to somehow coordinate with the 2 existing windows with that, you've got the 8/8. So that is my opinion, and the board might not agree.
Thank you, Casey. Chris?
Casey, you would bring this up. I was wondering, the head of the window on the new infill doesn't match the head of the door. And I'm having trouble understanding if that aligns with the existing windows on the main part of the house.
So basically, if we go back to the new plans, the design, there's like kind of like the entryway. There is this, they want to like have like an area where they can put like a table and stuff. So part of it was, also making sure that the height of the window was off, but also that it was large enough that it could also be used in case someone needs to, for some reason, go out of the window if any cases like that were to arise. But it's trying to keep the front and the back like the same sizing of the windows, and like trying to match the existing sizing of the other windows as well.
So it matches the size. Does the head height align with the existing windows?
Yes.
So did I understand you right? You were saying that those windows meet a size for escape when you have a door right next to it?
Well, I mean, it's just kind of like one of those things, just like, even though there's 2 doors that go into that area, if for some reason the owners were to, if they had stuff in front of the doors, I mean, there's enough head height in those windows that they can be used as fire escapes if ever necessarily possible. That would
Or
Chris,
people have to leave at the same time.
back to the original question, that the head height does match. What's different on this window is that we do not have shutters. We didn't decide to add plastic shutters just to match other ones, just because we wanted to match. So the shutter area to the left of the window is a little bit tight, so we're not going to match shutters there. But as far as the window header, it is matching. We didn't bring the window down as much because, again, on the inside there, bench seating, table, we wanted to have that window sill be higher, but the window head height does match all the other ones, which is why it looks higher than the door when you're looking at that header there on the porch.
So are these casement windows? Are they with that 3x3 glass light pattern? That would have to be a casement, right?
Correct. Although this
It'll look like the other windows anyway.
Valerie, you may know, are these fixed windows? I don't remember.
They're fixed windows on the plan as of right now. We haven't received any other word if they were going to be not fixed or not.
So Chris, they are not casements. I think they're just fixed.
So it'll be hard to escape in an emergency. I don't have any other questions.
Chris, you all set?
Yeah, I think I'm all set.
Andrew?
Yeah, I really don't have anything else to add. It would be nice if if it were an 8/8, or it could match a little bit more with the windows that are flanking the front door, but it is recessed from the front elevation, so it will become less evident, less obtrusive from the street. But I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
My questions have been asked and answered. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
I'm stealing Andy's question. Any lighting fixtures to the outside?
Currently, there has not been any discussion or word from the owners if there has been lighting additionally being added. If it were to be added, we would do the daylight. I'm sorry, I forgot the specific.
There will be lights just for code. There's going to be a small wall sconce. It will comply with the dark sky policy, so it's not going to have any sort of visible light bulb fixture either facing up or out towards the street. But those light fixtures have not been selected. It'll be some sort of small wall sconce.
Okay, I saw they had a floodlight on the garage, but obviously, with the overhang roof, they didn't have any lighting there, so just wanted to ask. Okay, all set. Thanks.
Just one quick comment from my part. Is your door from the mudroom going into the garage existing, or is that proposed? I know it's out of our purview, but
from the mudroom into the garage isn't.
Oh, that's already existing.
Okay, just wanted to make sure there wasn't any door swing conflict with cars. That's all. So I have no other comments, and I want to thank you two for presenting, and you can call Jeff's office in the morning and get our answer.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good day.
you. Yep. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. Next on our agenda is AR-4-21, 1835 Monroe Avenue, Hanlon Architects, facade improvements. Are they here?
Yes, I am here. Hi, I'm Doug Templeton with Hanlon Architects. And so what we have here is the Brighton Commons Plaza. And so this is the start of some of the work for the rest of the plaza. So we started on the left-hand side with the orthodontist space, which is underway. And now we're starting to work around the rest of the building with some other improvements to the facade. So what we're doing here is we're following some of the same language that we've established at the orthodontist. So at that current mall entrance, is if we zoom in on to A1, there's a mall entrance there. We're going to be doing a new parapet wall to match what's going on at the orthodontist, and we're going to have that with some signage above it, labeling it as Brighton Commons. Currently, it's labeled as mall entrance. So that's some new construction going on. The rest of the facade there, as you can see, is going to be a lot of paint. We're removing the awnings that are on this elevation, patching that with similar ephes, painting, adding some aluminum horizontals, keeping the cornice, wrapping those existing steel columns that you see there between every storefront, just making them a little bit larger to match what we've established at the orthodontist space. And then we are replacing the railing with something a little bit more modern, perhaps a vertical picket style railing. And so we're focusing for this submission, we're focusing on this elevation. This is the highest trafficked area, so we think it'll have the most impact. And then as things progress, we will continue around the rest of the building. But we wanted to start here to start generating some interest and start getting some excitement for the project. So as you can see on the bottom elevation, we're doing that inside L. So wrapping from the orthodontist space, which is currently underway, and wrapping all the way around to the corner on that parking lot facade. And then the rest of the facade will remain as is at this time.
Thank you. Andrew, I'm gonna wait just a second. I've got to recuse myself because I'm involved in some projects with Hanlon. So I'm gonna have you take over.
Okay. Then I guess we'll start, Mary, do you have any questions?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Casey?
Tons of questions. I guess first one, so the part that we already approved for the dentist on that far left, it's a different color ephes paint. Am I correct? It's more of the brown.
Yeah.
And now as you turn the corner, this is a totally different set of colors up above?
That is correct. So at the orthodontist, they're just painting to match the existing at this time on the far left. And then for this inside edge, yes, these are new colors on the upper part of the building, correct.
Is the intent that eventually that new color works its way out, or is it going to be brown on half of the building and taupe on the other half?
The intent is that once the whole building is complete, it will be unified as these new colors.
So theoretically, you might go back into the dentist remodel or get it approved before it even gets completed?
Correct.
And it'll coordinate?
Yeah, it will coordinate, yes.
Okay, okay. And then as far as, so I'm just looking at the lower parapet as we look at, so Brighton Commons entrance, just to the left. Is that lower parapet existing right now? Are we low and high as normal, or did you make one higher?
Yep. So if Jeff, if you don't mind zooming in on that Brighton Commons location, right there on the elevation, there is a dotted line in there that shows the existing heights of the parapets. So that is an existing lower parapet wall. And we are going to be extending right where it says Brighton Commons there, right over that main entrance. And then so that will bump up to the other elevation of the parapet, which is on the right side. So those are both existing heights, and we're adding this element in the middle of them. It's a little hard to see that dashed line there, but yeah, right there. That's where it currently transitions.
And then on the opposite side, if you go down to the south elevation, is that higher parapet there right now? Or,
yes.
Or is it, okay.
That's higher as it is now. Yes, correct.
Okay.
I believe we have a couple of pictures that might show this existing as well. That might help.
Yeah, I didn't see any in the submission, but.
Okay. But yes,
I mean,
the
that
only
was the
new
only-
part is that entry.
Okay. Because it's kind of nice how it does, the main entry does kind of come up. It's almost, you almost want the right side to step down a little bit more to give that a little bit more presence.
Mhm.
But you are saying that is the legit height. You're not adding any height to that.
Right.
Okay, that was really it, was the colors and what was going on in that inner corner. And then I guess just logistically, as you get down to the bottom right of south elevation, you kind of show finishes turning the corner, 2 feet. Is the idea that this project, I mean, what's the scope of this project as far as timeline? How long is that 2-foot transition going to be there versus your next submission?
So the idea here is to start with the most impactful facade to hopefully generate some more interest, get some more tenants, some of that. So right now we picked going around the corner to a current break line in the Eaves, and then from there we would extend on. So our hope is that as soon as possible we continue on this facade, wrap it around Monroe Avenue, and keep going to get that unified look as quick as possible. That's the goal.
Okay. And right now the new aluminum wrap 4-inch horizontal that's in between P1 and P2, is that essentially the line of the awnings, or is that an existing datum, or is that something being created?
The higher of those aluminum horizontals
Yep.
is above the existing awnings.
Okay.
But that lines up with, there's steel columns out there now, 3-inch, steel columns that run up to about 15 feet. And that's where we pulled that horizontal across. So that line is there. It's just these vertical elements of these existing steel columns that you see on the facade today. They extend up to this point. So the horizontal is set on top of that.
Okay. So then as you turn the corner in the future, are you going to consider that datum? Right now that right side existing building to remain is just blank Eaves, but are you going to build that into that blank canvas on the right and make sure that is cohesive?
Yeah, we want everything to look cohesive. So what we're doing here on the back is in the long run gonna wrap around the building so that everything looks unified and very grounded and cohesive. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then just help explain, when we're looking at, once the columns extend up into the Eaves, if I were, take a plan section cut through there, where does the aluminum column that's being wrapped, where is that in plan in relationship to the Eaves that's butting up to it? Is it coming out? Is it recessed? You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. So currently those steel columns are proud of the Eaves. And so when we wrap them, it'll come out a little bit further, but that's going to come up and it's going to terminate into that horizontal going across. So that will all be one plane.
Okay. So essentially your two columns and that horizontal are all proud by a couple inches and kind of add some depth to this whole thing.
That's correct.
All right. That's all I have for now, at least. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Casey. Chris?
So just to clarify, this metal horizontal, is that in the same plane as the new column wrap?
Yes, it is. Yep. Those will be in the same plane.
How is that horizontal going to be built? Because I'm not seeing any joint in it, and I'm assuming it's not going to be able to be continuous. What's the actual construction of that?
We'll have to dig into some of the details, but we'll probably have some sort of blocking in there wrapped. There will be a joint where we have this, right? Because we can't have it go all the way across. So we will have joints in there. So we will line it up,
So is this like a brake metal piece? Is that what you're talking about? You're just doing
metal
around to form this coping? All right. Now, what about the colors of all of this and how do they work with the existing brick? I know that you can't show us like samples in person, but do you have anything that shows accurate representations of the colors of the materials?
So this is what we do have. It's not as good as in person, right? So this is digital, but
Do you
our
have
hope
anything
is
that
that
represents the existing brick with these colors?
we don't have anything that represents the existing brick with these colors. No. But our hope is that with picking some of these neutrals and with it being on a different plane, it won't look out of place, and it'll tie in a little bit to the orthodontist space as well with some of the grays, and it's a little bit of a different color palette, but we think it'll work well with the existing brick and what's out there.
So the loading dock's going to stay there, right? So you're still going to see the dock bumpers. You're still going to have like a gate and that guardrail, and that door looks like it's been painted a bright color versus something that would recede. Is that intentional?
We could consider changing that color to make it a little bit more hidden from, recede into that brick field a little bit, so that's not called out as much. That is a good comment.
I think that's all I have for now.
All right, thanks, Chris. Fran?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Brian?
I think the overall layout I like, and I think we saw this coming based on the orthodontist space. One of the things that, over the course of time that we've looked at this building is the tenant signage that will be going in here, because the orthodontist space has now sort of dominating that left corner. One thing you should just keep in mind is you should think about how the tenant signage and the building go together, both on the front and the back. Whether you have a sign plan in place or whether you do something like what Tops has done in the past couple of years with their tenant signage. Like if you look at what's there now versus what you're doing and try to bring in something that's similar, it's not going to work. So you have to sort of really think about how you're going to do that. The tenant signage, whether it's individualized logos or you have a sign plan similar to what you currently have. It just has to be modernized with the look that you're going for. So I would just keep that in mind, that what you're doing in the front and what you're doing in the back should look very similar, if not the same, with respect to that. And I think the orthodontist space is going to drive that with what they've done. So whether it means everybody's got their own individual look for tenant signage, or you've got something that sort of flows with everything else, it's definitely something that you have to consider. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Brian. I guess my only questions, I think you've answered an awful lot of the other questions that I had initially, but just I want to focus in on the Brighton Commons new entranceway just for a second, because you do have a new ACM profile for a vertical element that then crosses horizontally right above where the Brighton Commons sign is. Is that to try to replicate some of the same vertical and then horizontal treatment on that larger glass panel right to the left? Is that what the intent is? So it keeps that coloration the same and that type of element the same?
That is correct. Yes,
Okay.
We're trying to pull from the same palette that we're using in the other space.
Okay, and then you're going to wrap that other column though in that darker material. So we're going to have a light material that's going up vertically and crossing horizontally at that upper elevation, and then we'll have that darker column to then start to match the other columns that are shorter on the building. Okay, just wanted that clarification. And I assume, of course, that the positioning of the Brighton Commons over that double door, that main entranceway, that's clearly just based on the post spacing that we see on the other portions of the building?
Yes, that's correct. Centered in that, between those two columns.
Okay, all right. It's just, I know I'll never look at the building straight onto that doorway, so I'm not going to see that aspect necessarily. So it's a minor concern. The only other thing that I wanted to raise too, though, is we do have the concrete curbing where we have our existing concrete walkway to remain, and we have that concrete curbing. On the orthodontist portion of the building, we are actually painting that concrete wall. Is there any other finish that you might apply to this particular piece of concrete? Or is this to truly just remain a gray concrete?
At this point, this is just to remain as it is. We might clean it up a little bit, but it's not going to be, at this point, not going to be painted.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I think a lot of good points were made a little bit earlier. I won't go back to those. All right, so I'll just go back through. Mary, did you have any follow-up questions? You had none to begin with.
No, everyone's been quite exhaustive, as I expected.
Yes, I agree. Very, very good comments, questions, and discussion. Anybody else have anything further to add? I see a shaking heads.
I've got one quick question. Now that we focused in on that main entrance, is there any way to incorporate the dark brown framing between that lighter aluminum and the wood? So it better, coincides with what's happening at the dentist?
Oh, yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah, we can do that.
It's tough because obviously the dentist, you're ending a storefront on the left side, and that's creating that frame, but it does look a little odd that you don't have that extra band kind of above the wood and to the left of it when it's happening so close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something we could take a look at and incorporate. That's a good point.
All right, very good. Doug, thank you very much for the presentation. You may stick around and hear our deliberations later, or you can give Jeff a call in the morning with our final determination. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy.
You're welcome.
Next on our agenda is 4AR-5-21, 51 Park Lane, David A. Walderick, construct a single bay carport. Is David there?
Okay, say hello.
Hi, go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead. You're on. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you. Yep.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you can just go ahead and present. If you want me to.
No, that's okay. My name is David Walderick. I'm representing Ralph and Kathy Wigant, and they're looking to put on a single carport onto their house, on the side of their house, and replace a storage building that is currently there. And you can see it in the elevation. The carport is attached to the house. The storage building is detached. And the carport itself is basically going to match in color, which is white, and in detailing, which the little bit of siding that is used at the gable side is going to match the house. And the exposure on the siding is about 9 inches on the house, and that's what we would try to maintain on the on both the storage building and the carport on the gable there. And the trims would be, and that siding would be a fiber board or like a hardy plank or something like that to match. We will try and match the house as best we can. The trim for the columns and the return gables, we'll be using either AZAC or a fiber board that we can get to match the siding.
Okay, is that everything?
I think so.
Okay, Mary, any comments?
Well, if you look at the plan view, yeah, I'm just a couple of things that caught my eye. One is I'm wondering if you have the turning radius that you need to get into this and also to back out and exit the driveway. And at the same time, are you actually going to cover a vehicle? Because it doesn't look like it's as deep as a parking spot. So since it's not crossing the whole front of the storage shed from the road, I'm wondering what that decision was based on, given that you're showing what, 12 feet between the house entrance and the columns there, is that right?
Right.
Yes, so I mean, part of the car will be sticking out, which you'll see from the street, and it won't have a roof over it. Is that correct?
Well, the distance between columns is 19 feet, and that is between the center line of columns. So you actually have another 18 inches on either side of that, if you want to get, technical, that the roof would be covering that area. So it is a full parking length. And
I'm sorry, aren't you turning in at 90 degrees to park in this space?
oh, no, we're coming in from the front.
Oh, I apologize. I saw that dashed line and I thought that was the edge of the asphalt pavement.
Oh, that's an existing landscape area that's going to be removed. And
oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I couldn't figure it out because I thought that you were coming in and turning into the carport. So that was my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, the logic of the positioning was that you could get one car parked outside of the carport
Gotcha.
and one car on the inside.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
Casey? Thank you, Mary. Is Casey?
Yes, I'm here.
Go
So
ahead.
I guess if, so just so we're clear, shed is totally out of our purview, correct?
Correct.
Detached
Pretty
shed?
much, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So, I mean, the use, I'm still confused on. I think Mary still brought in a good point. I'm still not understanding 12'5" from the out. I mean, what is your clear opening between the column and the building and take away the bump out for the chimney? How, I don't even understand how you're getting a car into this space.
Well, the distance to the outside of the carport is 12'5".
Mm-hmm. What
And
about
so-
the inside?
Pardon me?
What about, so what's the clear width on the inside and take away the chimney depth?
Well, the chimney depth is about 2 feet coming out, but it's proud of where you would enter the carport. So if a car is 6 feet or 6.5 feet, you can get into that space.
Okay.
I mean, it's 12 feet wide, and you're coming in at an angle, but you're coming in so that you can maneuver into that area.
And the intent is that they're going to completely repave the driveway? Because I mean, looking at the site plan, obviously, right now, the current driveway doesn't really get you that close at that angle.
It'll be repaved as much as needed to get the car in.
Okay. Can you talk about what's happening with the existing garage? Because that really hasn't been addressed. But obviously there's wall infill work and new windows and new door. I think we should talk about
That is
that.
currently a house space right now. It's kind of like a workshop. And so that does not enter from the carport presently, but that door will be taken off and the new door, man door, will be put in so that you can get actually into the house from that room that's there.
But you're removing your garage door.
Right, the photo has a garage door.
Pardon me?
The existing photo shows a 2-car garage door.
Yeah, that door will be coming out, and the man door will be put in its place. It will be finished. It'll be finished off.
And you got windows.
And windows.
So, Jeff, does that actually need to be on the presentation? That's.
It would be.
Could
part
be.
of the project,
Shown on the north elevation.
Yeah, I mean, we should have more information on what the windows are, the door. Kind of, kind of missing part of the presentation here.
Okay.
It's there.
Well, the windows are slider windows, and the door is an insulated solid door, insulated exterior door. And everything is going to be white.
Okay.
I mean, I would assume that these windows are going to be Anderson slider windows, and they're white.
Okay. Can you talk about the return? So in the elevation that's currently shown on the screen, sorry, I'm bad at some residential terms. Commercial architect here. We're wrapping our kind of our fascia board at the end of, yep, right there. It looks a lot deeper than what's being represented at the existing house. Is the intent to match the depth of that, the length? Or are you really bringing in that far beyond the columns?
The depth of that return cornice there is intended to be close to the existing house. Sometimes when those return cornices are done, if they don't have a little bit more length to them, it becomes hard to roof it and finish it. So that's why it was drawn a little bit deeper. But the intent is to try and make this as close to the existing house as possible.
Okay, so but the existing ones don't actually have shingles on them, looking at the photos. It looks like it's just the trim work that's returning with a little kind of cap flashing.
Hold on for 1 second here.
So yeah, so Jeff, I was zooming in on that upper photo. I just think it'd be important to match that detail. If we're going to make the point of semi recreating it, it should definitely match and not be a hybrid version of something new.
Okay, I understand that, and I agree with you. We will match the existing returns. Yeah, as I look at it, I mean, as you can see, on the existing house, those return cornices, the roofing is a little ambiguous up there, and I just want to make sure that we have enough room to do what we need to do. But the intent is to detail it as close as possible.
Okay. All righty. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, Chris.
I appreciate the gesture and what that's intending to do with that rather blank facade there. I'm having a real hard time with the concept of this carport being attached to the garage behind a chimney right nestled up against the house. Do you know of any other examples of anything like this in the neighborhood or even around town in Brighton?
Yeah, Chris, this is Stuart. I'm going to interject. There is one carport on, actually a couple carports exist on Park Lane. They're not as architecturally designed. Some have outside sort of screens and flat roofs, and others are just flat with metal poles holding them up. So
are they attached to the house?
They are. They're attached. Some are proud of the front of the house, and some are equal with the front of the house. So they're very different styles of architecture, but they do exist. You're muted.
Sorry. That was my main question. It seems a little bit of an odd gesture, but there's already been some odd gesturing on this house, and I think this is an improvement for that, certainly. But I don't have any other questions right now.
Okay, Andrew?
My perennial question is going to be gutters for the front of the roof and the rear of the roof, and how you will treat getting water off of that roof. Number one. Number two, I do have also the same commentary about the door and windows going into the garage, as that is part of this whole entire project. The space going into that carport space, I understand from a dimensional standpoint, it works with numbers. I would really suggest doing potentially even doing a dry run of exactly where those posts are and how a car is going to turn in and then back out of that carport. Because you do have the returns of the building, you have a post in which you are considering backing out of. It's like getting out of a parking garage parking space when you're next to a pillar. So I would investigate that, make sure that your client is comfortable and can make that maneuver. My only other comment, and it's outside of our purview, but the shed being located so close to the back end of the new structure by 5 feet, that seems very, very tight. I would suggest just looking at the ability to moving that storage shed a little bit further away, so you have a little bit more room between those two structures, because you literally will have less than 5 feet with your roof overhang of your carport to where your storage shed is located. It just seems extremely tight.
Okay.
You all said, Andrew?
Yeah, that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Brian?
To piggyback on that comment with the storage shed, are you building a new foundation for that storage shed, or are you going to use something existing?
We will be putting in a new foundation.
Okay, so the ability to move it back a little bit is totally doable.
Yeah, and your point is well taken, and we certainly have that ability to move it back, and we will take a look at that.
Okay, I don't have anything else. Thanks.
Fran?
What is the ceiling material for the carport?
Well, I think that what we're going to try and do is get a panel, like an AZAC panel with a batten to it. Not necessarily a tight batten, but a panel, let's say that's on a 4-foot increment, and we would have battens going across to break it up a little bit.
And will there be lighting in that ceiling?
Well, we have one light shown on the, I think on the one elevation here,
The wall
right next to the
sconce.
door.
Yeah.
So we didn't we didn't really think that there would have to be any more lighting on the ceiling, but we do have one on the wall of the house, right there, right next to the door.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple of comments. One is there's been no consideration for snow clearance for now or for future owners. I can't imagine anyone with a plow maneuvering this site. This is a question for Jeff. I assume we need variances for this project.
I don't believe so.
Well, can we just make sure that we're good on that?
Yep, I'll verify it.
And then the other question.
I did talk to Steve regarding this project.
So I still want to make sure all the variances, I know Kathy and Ralph and think highly of them. The other question is it's kind of abstract. I know a fence attached to a house is considered a structure, and your fence, is it going to attach to the shed? So would this be an attached structure through
No, the fence is.
No,
being accomplished?
the fence would not be attached.
Well, let's make sure of that. And that would be a question for Jeff to check on. So I too expressed the concern about the garage door and the new application there, but I think most questions have been asked, and except for lighting. Is there any lighting under the carport?
There is one light on the wall of the house, and it's right next to the door on the north elevation.
So there's no ceiling lights underneath the carport?
No, we did not have any ceiling lights.
Okay, that's the only questions I have. I want to thank you for presenting, and hello to Ralph and Kathy. You guys can call Jeff's office in the morning and get our answer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank
Yep,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is 4AR-6-21, 1850 Brighton Henry Town Line Road, Pathfinder Engineers and Architects, exterior facade renovations. Is anyone here to present?
We are, yes.
Hi, welcome.
Thank you.
So go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sharon Herman with Pathfinder Engineers and Architects, and I'm also here with Nancy Jendryzik, who's our partner in charge of the project. And we're representing Helio Health today for their new project on 1850 Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road. And they'll be moving into, this was the old Folsom Health Center that's been vacant for several years. And they'll be constructing a 53-bed drug addiction treatment center. Jeff, can we start with the existing photos, please? Thank you. So this is a view from Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road. The south elevation, we consider the main entrance right off Town Line Road. And then
just a real quick question. I don't mean to interject, but we're not reviewing any signs on this project?
We are
No.
not today, no.
Okay.
No. We
right.
will, there will be a sign shown on the elevations, but we're gonna go in with a complete, the whole sign package at a later date.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem.
No problem.
So the porte cochere will remain, and we will be we'll be reskinning basically the whole building, but I wanted you to get a feel for what we currently have. So the east elevation and the west elevation is the west elevation can be seen off of Town Line Circle Road, and then the north elevation, I believe, is the
Last one.
last. And that's we'd consider the back of the building. And then we can go to the new renderings, please. If we can zoom in on the more toward the south and the east, please.
We obviously with the submittal, we included floor plans, but to just make a general statement, the first floor has counselor offices and some common facilities. The second floor is the bedrooms for the residents where they stay from somewhere from 3 to maybe 14 days. And it is a 24/7 facility. So that will also help you understand the elevations.
Yeah, so window placement was important when we were laying this out. So what we've done is we will be removing all the existing vinyl siding and replacing that with a fiber cement product. And we've also removed some of the existing brick pilasters. Along these south elevation, where we'll have more of the main viewing, we've created more of a kind of a strip window feel to break up the monotony of all the regular lap siding. And originally our client had wanted some strip windows along that facade, which we could not do because of some of the existing structural bracing within the building. So what we've done is, and it's kind of hard to see in the rendering, we could see it better in some of the construction documents. But we've alternated window placement with some smooth fiber cement siding to create, it'll be a tinted glass and a gray tinted glass and a gray fiber cement siding to in the same color tone to create that strip feel. And then some vertical and horizontal trim pieces as well. And then we've extended that look to part of the north, or I'm sorry, part of the east elevation where a client parking is. And that is also where the main entry and waiting room is. And then the other facades are more basic. We've got the 6-inch lap siding throughout. All windows will have gray tinted glass. They're all fixed windows. The brick is existing. There are just a few places in the front of the building that are in need of some repair. So we've got a little bit of brick patching to do. The porte cochere, we will replace the existing vinyl siding with a phenolic panel. And then our client will come back with them for to review the signage with you.
Is that everything?
Would you like to see the unrendered elevations? We have those submitted. We can show those real quick just to get you the idea of the scope of the work.
Okay.
So on these elevations, you kind of see more of where the windows are and where the panels will be put that will hopefully make a continuous look of banding on the south, and that the window placement on the second floor is really driven by the bedroom size and the placement of beds. So the windows where we didn't have as much flexibility because we wanted a window between the beds and not over a patient, things like that. So on the second floor all the way around, that is driven by some of the floor plan issues. On the first floor, especially on the south, we've been putting clusters of windows into the office areas and things like that. The views, obviously we said the south is the primary. The north, the opposite view is more of the service entrance on the first floor. It has the kitchen and it has the mechanical room, and it faces the parking lot, and it faces the extension of the facility where they have a wooded area where site plan approval had already given, and it's been constructed as a walking trail. The east side is faces the parking lot and faces DeMarco's parking lot that is the next property. And on the west side, we face the Town Line Circle and the industrial park with Landsman building across the street. And then the next, if we go to the materials, we have a color board. Again, limitation of not presenting samples in real life. These are, again, digital colors are tough. The tones of the siding are really a brown gray. They look more gray on this computer screen to me. But they're an earth tone, which the client would like to have on the building, and also complement what brick we are maintaining. The windows will be clear anodized aluminum to make them pop a little, and all doors except for the front ones will be FRP, and the front doors will be clear anodized aluminum.
Okay.
Again, time for questions.
Thank you. Mary?
I don't have any questions for the moment. Thank you, Stuart.
Yeah. Casey?
Yeah, just comparing the existing photos with the elevations, it appears that the existing building does have more vertical brick pilasters that are showing up. So just wondering, how are you dealing with the ones that are not currently visible? Are you removing that brick?
We're removing the brick, yeah. That allowed us a little flexibility with the windows, and then there was also some bracing issues, but yes, and the brick is strictly a veneer brick.
Okay.
So
All right, but then,
easily
and then,
removed.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I struggled with the window, kind of just the relationship of the windows between the, second floor and the first floor. But, you did explain the reasoning. It'd be nice if some of them could.
It was a difficult struggle.
We struggled too. How's that?
Okay, that makes me feel better. Do you have a good idea? Do you have samples yet of the gray tint window with the aluminum frame and that hardy board to really have a good idea of how those all look together? And does it become a true ribbon of similar color, or is that yet to be tested?
We've ordered samples. They have not come in yet, so we're hoping that within a few days they should be here. I was surprised they weren't here yet, but
the test will be in how we specify it. We're hoping for a smooth, and we all know it's very difficult to duplicate glass, but the goal will be is get as close as possible, and then also do a physical mock-up during construction. But, yeah, we're well aware that we're trying to make something that is a little bit hard to achieve, but we're hoping with the color and the depth that we'll be able to do it.
Okay. And I know you said that originally the client was looking for ribbon windows. Did you explore the option of doing all framed window system and just, clear glass versus spandrel? What was the thought with that?
We did, except for the problem is we have, the building has been modified over the years, and there's some structural issues with cross bracing and other bracing. So, and the way the existing wall is constructed, we couldn't use a spandrel glass. It's just the way the wall is composited, and where the columns fall within the exterior wall. So we explored a bunch of things. We are doing a lot of structural modifications to get all the windows in that we need, but it wasn't able to use a spandrel glass.
Okay, you physically can't punch the holes in because of the structure.
Right, and it's and it's within the plane, yeah. So
okay,
yeah,
understood.
We did look at it. Yeah, early on it was when the client had the envision, that not all the structural items and issues were were revealed. How's that?
Right.
We actually have a permit and have completed the demolition on the inside of the building. And that's probably the only way we actually knew how much trouble we had. So we have explored it greatly, but this is what our best solution is for the trying to create a look that will be appealing to the roadside and, you know, has a nice appeal as a commercial facility, you know, as clients come in.
Okay, thank you. I have no other questions.
Thank you, Casey. Chris?
Yeah, so I do have a couple of concerns, and one is I'm not convinced that this ribbon window concept is really going to come across in execution based on what you've described. So I guess I'll just note my concern with that, but I'm gonna pose a question to you about this lap siding, because the existing vinyl on the building is not like a lap siding, and for a building of this ilk, lap siding is a really odd choice. So my question is, what other options did you look at as opposed to the lap siding?
Well, we had another type of siding. It was more of a modern type fiber cement siding. Our client really is pushing the lap type siding. He wants the more residential feel for a healing environment. He doesn't want this to be, you know, a metal paneled commercial type structure.
I'm not sure I buy that argument, just with the deployment of the ribbon window look and the boxy nature of the
Well, I don't know that I disagree, but sometimes they've used the lap siding on other facilities, and so they're familiar with the fiber cement and the look, and that's kind of where that's coming from.
So the colors then too, it would be nice to see those represented with the brick, because I'm not seeing a lot of contrast between what was shown there, and then the brick is a really light buff color. So I think one of the things this building suffers from is it's very uniform in color, and I'm not convinced that it's going to be all that different when you're done. Was there a lot of discussion about that color palette or any other options that were looked at?
Yeah, I mean, we were going for an earth tone palette, and the brick out there is a pretty light peachy orange, and this is more of a brownish gray. So I think when you're on site, it looks a lot better than it does in the computer.
The thought was we wanted to go contrast, and they wanted a darker siding. So we looked at a variety of different dark sidings. This was the one that our client liked, as well as we thought it went well with overall.
My last question is the mechanical equipment on the roof. Is that new?
I'm sorry, what on the roof?
On east elevation 2, there's a large piece of mechanical equipment.
That is new, yes. And we provided, I don't know if Jeff was able to add that, but we did some perspectives from the road in a drawing that we sent over there. So you see the site plan, and we took a point with a person standing. They're going to get run over in Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, but 2 points to where what you would see at a certain distance and things like that. And the large piece of equipment is toward the back, and from the Brighton Town Road side, you probably won't see it at all, or just a little bit. You can see it peeking up. You will see a little bit more of it from the Town Line Circle side. Although when I look across the street, I see all of Landsman's rooftop equipment as well.
Yeah, I think that when you get further away from the building, it's going to be fairly prominent. But as you noted, Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road is not, you're moving pretty quick there usually.
Yeah,
Do
yeah.
you have any other questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Andrew.
Yeah, just a couple comments. I too am not 100% sold that the combination of the two different materials for the ribbon window sections are actually going to work, primarily because the window is going to have a reflective quality to it, and the fiber cement panel is going to be very, it will not. So I don't know if you'll actually achieve that look that you're going for. I mean, it's very similar to the look that exists on the building today. So we can see it in real time. If you just take a look at the existing photos, you can see that it does have a, windows that are cut into a panel. And I think that's the resulting of that ribbon that you're going to get. So I actually, to Chris's point, the horizontal siding may not be the best choice, but I think it's actually an improvement over what is existing today. So
We would agree with you on that.
I give you that. I think reducing the number of vertical brick plinths or columns along the building is actually a positive as well. Although the north elevation is a little bland. But I understand that's kind of the back of house, if you will. My only real other question is I noticed that you have a baseboard that you're calling out as a painted baseboard. I know we've had, there has been issues before with water seepage and water impregnating the bottom boards and things of that nature. Did you give consideration of a different type of material there, perhaps a true stone base to the building? I noticed on the original photos, there's a gap between where the siding is and then the ground elevation. What was the solution that was used on this building? And I guess that's kind of my question and my comment all in one.
Yeah, so currently they do have a piece of painted wood. We've been looking into some composite materials that we could use instead for lower maintenance and better water maintenance. So yeah, we're looking to improve that water table around the bottom of the building. Something like maybe a composite deck, just to keep that siding up.
Okay, you got to be really careful on the selection that you use because a lot of materials do take up water, even though they say they're not water penetrable. They do take up, they expand, they contract, they warp. So that's a pretty important piece, especially because you're dealing with sidewalk immediately up against your building, and you also have salt deposits and things of that nature.
Absolutely, yeah.
So.
Surprisingly, the board isn't in that bad a shape that is currently there, considering how the rest of the siding and stuff. But yes, we want to use a material there that will do exactly what you were describing. So that is being investigated for.
Okay.
All set, Andy?
Yeah, for right now, yes, indeed.
Thank you. Brian?
I didn't have anything else to add beyond a few things that were said, so I think I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Fran?
Yeah, once again, my questions were addressed. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a quick question, if I can jump in.
Okay, Jeff?
The stairwell, the color on the stairwells and the rest of the siding, like the stairwell seems a little bit darker. And I just want to make sure that those are going to be the same.
It should be the same, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Mary, do you have any questions? Did Mary disappear on us?
Sorry,
there you are.
I was muted. No, everyone has asked great questions, and so I don't need to add anything.
Okay, and I'm in the same position. My only thing was the signs at the beginning. And one thing that's been, I've been pondering is, it sounds like the building was physically in rough shape when you started. Is it going to be able to hold those mechanicals on the roof? That's the only thing I've got to ask. So
Yes, it will. Yes, yeah. We are doing some structural reinforcing, but the roof structure was pretty good. So
okay,
we are
perfect.
reinforcing, but yes.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that's it. And you're more than welcome to stick around and hear us deliberate. You won't be able to add anything or answer any questions at that time, but or you can just call Jeff's office in the morning and get our answer.
Okay.
So
Thank you, guys.
yep, appreciate it. And appreciate you developing in Brighton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda are signs. First is 1608 White 125 White Spruce Boulevard. Building face sign for Jenny's Bakery. Mary?
I'm fine with it. It's cute.
Okay. Casey?
I'm also good with it.
Chris?
I'm surprised that Casey and Mary are good with it.
Jeez.
The spacing of the letters and all that seems a little odd, but it, you know, it's not obscene or anything like that. So I think put up too much of a fuss.
So I assume you're okay, Chris, with it.
I have no objection at this time.
Okay, thank you. Andrew?
I think it goes together like peas and carrots, that Jenny.
That's plagiarism, buddy. Brian?
I'm good.
As long as the phone number to the bakery is 8675309, I'm okay with it.
There you go.
There you go. That's good.
This is recorded, folks.
No.
Fran?
I'm good with it. Thank you.
Okay, I am as well. Next on our agenda is 1609 1835 Monroe Avenue, Skylight Signs Inc., building face signs for Matacio Orthodontics.
You mean Matiacho?
There you go. My teeth got in the way. Mary?
It's fine.
Casey?
This one, the link didn't work to get the preview of, so can we just go through like, what is the sign? Is it lit? Looking.
Yep. It's
White
lit.
LED, black return, strum cap. So raceway to match. Okay. Yeah, I'm good with that.
So, let's see. When I pull mine up, I get B's Salon.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that happened to me. The links aren't working if you go direct.
Sorry about that.
Okay, Chris.
Thank you, Mary. I was wondering how it was pronounced, and I was hoping you would provide that insight. Does this plaza not have a sign standard, though?
They do. I think the issue is what they have there now ultimately has to change because of this. So what I mentioned before is even though they're treating this orthodontist space kind of like an anchor, everything else has to, now that it's getting updated, everything else has to change, and they can't keep it the same way because it just doesn't look, what they previously did won't go with the new look at all.
And that's, I guess, what I'm trying to drive at is, are all the rest of the signs here going to stay with that kind of 60s, 70s funk? And then this is going to just be completely foreign.
I think they're gonna change it. I think that was kind of why I brought it up. And so when they come before us, I'm assuming they're going to have some kind of sign plan, not just a, maybe it's going to be like Tops where, everybody has their own individual thing and they sort of abandon the sign plan idea. I don't know, but it has to go one way or the other. They can't keep it the same.
They had a sign plan previously, but it wasn't really an approved sign plan. It was like a recommended sign plan. And then there's been some people, there's been somebody that's going to come in and they said that they're going to wait a little bit to kind of get some direction because they know that the signs are changing. So they're trying to get clarification from the owners.
Theoretically, could we hold on the sign review until they have established a plan for the entire plaza?
You can table it, yeah.
I mean, it's just a question, because I mean, they did show, for the new project, they did show that classic lettering for Brighton Commons for the entrance. And they kind of said like they may keep this or they may go, they may do something else. So it sounds like they haven't really even gone that far. So you really want to know what the plan is before you start approving a mismatch of signs.
So
I think if this one is approved, then pretty much everything else won't be if it's the same. I think that's how we could look at it.
They could still do it if this has a sign plan. Oh no, it doesn't, because we've always reviewed them and we always ask the question, isn't this part of the plan? And no, so they would have to review all the other signs. Never mind.
Well, remember the Mediterranean restaurant, remember? They tried to they just tried to relocate their sign. We rejected it. And then they never put one up. I think they just kept something in the window until they closed.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But
so
the
I'm
point
gonna
was they're supposed to match the existing lettering.
Casey, what was your answer on this?
Well, it's fine with how it is independently, but I do think that we should understand what's happening in the entire plaza.
Okay, so that's kind of conflicting, but Chris?
We approve it with the condition that all future signs are not what was there prior. I mean, is that possible that we could approve it on the condition that this is showing an intended departure from the style of signage that's there? I don't know. I say that out loud and it gets kind of funky, but that's kind of what I'm wanting to do.
But the problem is that this is the dentist logo. I mean, they use the sign in all kinds of locations. So you don't necessarily want to tie the plaza to their fonts either.
No, I'm not saying that everything would match this. I'm just saying that no future signs will match the existing. I'm not
existing.
Well, it's a departure from their traditional uniform signage.
So are you?
That's the way they're going to go. Then I don't.
Chris,
have an issue.
are you for the new signage or for the old signage?
I am for it as long as the old signage is going away, and that's what we don't know for sure.
Okay, I'm going to put you guys on hold. Andrew?
I would approve this sign, and I think just on the discussion that you're having, it's almost, we need to direct the question to Jeff to see whether or not the sign plan is still in effect today, and what are the provisions of that sign plan. Some of the other sign plans, like the Top Plaza, for example, there was a sign plan that they had approved for that. But in the way that the language was written is that they could be granted a different sign for their establishment if they came before the board and got a review and approval. And I don't know if that is the same language that is in for the Brighton Commons and what that agreement or what that sign plan says. So
the Brighton Commons sign plan was never officially approved. There's like recommendations, but it's not like it's not like an approved plan like Tops has or some of the other plazas have.
Is it possible for us, to tag this onto the facade improvements and ask for a plan for the graphics for the building going forward? As a, can we tie that to that other presentation tonight? It seems to go there. I mean, this one brings up the question, but that's where the question would most likely be better answered.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah, I would approve this. I mean, aside from everything else, I think it's fine.
Okay, Fran?
I guess I'm trying to understand if we need to, how this would tie in with us approving a sign plan for the Brighton Commons. Are we, for any type of plaza like that, do we require a sign plan?
No.
Some are internal, some are reviewed by the board.
My understanding is if they get an approved sign plan, what that enables them to do is make changes to the signage within the plaza as long as it's keeping within the plan and avoid having to submit. Aside from that, then there's no requirement for it. Do I have that understanding right?
Yeah, that's correct. It's supposed to like make it easier for new tenants to get signs, so they don't have to wait 2 months.
So then trying to understand approving this, what effect it has on the rest of the commons is somewhat hypothetical in a way, I guess, because the reason I'm asking these questions is I have no issue with the way this looks. I have no issue with this branding. I've seen it everywhere, like we all have. But if I say, yes, I'm good with this, do you think this is painting us in a corner, or is it preventing something being approved for the Brighton Commons? I'm kind of hearing that there's some hesitation regarding that because we don't know what the full plan is. Am I right in thinking that way?
It sounds reasonable.
Okay.
So I'm a big fan of the existing signage because I think it really states the location. It's identity for the plaza, and it's probably on the edge of being historically significant since we're losing a lot of our unique signage on Monroe Avenue, such as Welpley and Paul, etc. So
right.
I propose my vote would be to keep the signage that's there and match it. So, but I'm one voice, and I'll support whatever the majority decides.
I agree with you. I like the way the existing commons signage is. It does have a very special feel, but I don't necessarily think having an anchor store, as we've said here, clashes if we have that. It stands apart so much, and the fact that it's having a little bit different tone on the paint colors, I think that makes it work. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I think we can still have Abbott's have the same Brighton Commons font, and it would still, I think that still would work. And that makes me want to approve this. If there's something I'm missing from hearing other concerns.
I think with the statement that they've made, both from the architects and obviously what we're seeing with the approach that this tenant is doing, whether he's the plaza owner, I don't know, but I think there's a big push for change. So that's just my feeling.
Okay. Well,
if this gets approved, it'll be precedent setting in that Abbott's is going to want their sign instead of what is the default plaza signage. So you're going to lose that.
Right. At that point, then everyone's going to want their standard logo for any of the companies that have a logo already or other locations. now, like you said, you're setting the precedent that they could do that, and then you are opening up for a mismatch of
I mean, we
signage.
could table it for more discussion if you guys want.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
comfortable with that. I think I'm not ready to, because I don't, that would it would just be terrible. It would look like more of a strip mall if this was the only one that was approved this way. It's not offensive, it's not a problem, but yeah, I don't want every little shop to have, it would be terrible. It'll just look like a strip mall that
Well,
doesn't belong here.
we don't want to establish a precedent for all the units in the plaza. However, you made a good point, Fran, saying this is an anchor store, so it can be considered a special case. I don't think the other store, I think that's a plausible approach to approving this, but not letting all hell break loose for the rest of the plaza.
Yeah.
So
If we can do that, I'm, then I'm good with this. If we can do that, if we can say this is, we can still have a leg to stand on when everyone else comes and presents.
So let's go down and do
table.
a roll call here on what people want to do. Whether it's table, approve, or deny. Mary?
I would approve. I do want to review the signage for the entire plaza, but I don't think this case is the place to do it. So I approve.
Casey?
So the way I am leaning is, if it was just me, I would table it, essentially conveying the comments that we want to see all the signs together. And it would be potentially our only opportunity to let them know what our preferences are, saying that this could, that if an anchor tenant wants to deviate slightly but we want consistency with all the other retailers, I think this might be our only opportunity to do that before we see an entire sign plan.
So you're voting for a table?
I would vote for table.
Okay, Chris?
Table. You're not gonna, you can't maintain control unless you understand where the owner's head is at. And the only way to do that is to table it and ask them to be present to answer these questions next time.
Yep. Andrew?
I would approve this sign. The challenge is, and this is my mind, is you're talking about this particular tenant coming forward with this particular sign for his particular unit. He is not the plaza owner that I am aware of. So you're tabling something where he doesn't have a voice in answering these questions. So that's my concern about tabling and not approving this signage. I would approve it the way it's presented.
So what about the future of the community and the stability of the community, where who knows how long this guy's going to be here? It's an orthodontist.
Yeah, and I hear the commentary that some people are attracted to this particular signage that's on this development. I, as one, I'm not sold that particular signage and the signage that is in the plaza is the right answer. Yeah, it does call itself out from everywhere else, so there is a positive there, but is it really the signage that everybody wants to see for the remainder of time? The jury is out in my mind on that.
I think that's one reason why we need to explore it.
But you're asking, but again, to my point, you're asking this particular tenant and this particular individual to answer for every other tenant of this plaza. The question should be raised not to the orthodontists, but the question should be raised to the plaza owner and the designers of the plaza.
And that's the direction to take it.
Could it be something that's done on the previous application for the facade improvements instead of on the sign application? Because the other facade was
That's what I
done.
was suggesting. that we need to have, this is just the cart before the horse. There's nothing wrong with this. It's just it's the cart before the horse, and we have to see that first. So we could say we're going to hold on this in lieu of understanding what the owner's intention is for the entire plaza, graphics and signage.
Brian, table or approve?
I'd approve.
Fran?
Table.
And I am a table. So approves have it. All right, approved as presented. Next is sign number 1610. 2241 Monroe Avenue, Mid-City Signs, Eaves Salon. All right, Mary?
Well, I don't understand why it has to have all that white space on the right and the left. I mean, I like simple signs, and so I mean, I wouldn't disapprove it, but I don't understand that all that white space when
I think
the
probably
back-
balancing it with the roof width of the, and covering up an old sign.
Ah, okay, then fine.
Casey?
I was gonna say the same thing, you know, they're just literally screwing it to an existing sign face. I think it's, I don't know. I guess it's approved.
Yay or nay?
Yay.
Okay, Chris?
Is this a salon for bees? Is it owned by bee? I'm confused.
Yes, well, it's a stinger. Let's go. Yes, no.
Apostrophe
just
or
seems-
no?
It just seems kind of flighty, but I'll approve the sign.
It's probably the owner's nickname, like Aunt Bee.
That would be BEA. And then we have an apostrophe, but
Okay.
apostrophes have fallen out of favor.
Thanks, Mary. Andrew?
Yeah, I agree that there's a lot of white space on here, but they're just attaching it to an existing sign face. I'm okay with it.
Hey, Brian?
Yep, it's fine.
Fran?
I approve.
And I'm all right with it. All right, let's go back to our deliberations.
Hey, how did approves win the last one?
Pardon?
Did I miscount
Of what?
this one?
Yeah, I thought the tables had it.
I thought the tables had it.
No, I got Mary as an approve. I've got Casey as a table. Chris is a table. I'm a table. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the tables have it. Sorry. Tables have it 4-3. Fran's table didn't get circled. That's why I didn't count it. Sorry.
Sounds like a mistrial.
I know, right? It's like going through everyone's heads. I was like, I swore we got at least 3 or 4 here.
Yeah, I apologize. I miscounted, but I did like the dead silence.
Well, I saw
It's
you
too
writing
late.
these down, so I saw. I'm like, well, he's keeping track, but
Too late, you can't go.
Right.
Just need 12% for a recall.
That's one of you plus an arm. So, Jeff, can you please note that the 1609 is a table.
Noted.
Thank you. Good catch, Casey.
What do we want? Do we want to condition it with?
Table
I
for
think what
representation.
And I think what Casey had said at the very beginning was quite on target.
None of us remember what I said. I don't know what I said. I mean, I like how Mary even put it. It's the cart before the horse. It's not bad. It's just we need to know the whole plan.
We could say tabled in lieu of an understanding of a comprehensive signage plan for the plaza.
Can we request to have the owner or a representation of the owner's company to present the signage plan next time? Or when it happens?
I would agree.
I mean, kind of like U of R, they always did a nice job where they came in and at least if we had questions, you were talking to the developer, you're not talking to a tenant.
Yeah, I think you have an unusual case because that was their development office coming in.
But so the question, I guess my thoughts on this are, we approved the previous facade as its own kind of element. And so this sign is going on the facade that we approved as an element. And so they've come in with another facade alteration. And like, those are the signs that I think that people are having a discrepancy with, not necessarily this sign.
Well, the facade is fine without the sign, right? It should be standalone. We're reviewing the sign, Jeff. That's
And remember, we did
that's the
require,
application we looked at.
yeah, I remember they wrote a letter stating that they had an intent to continue a similar look across the plaza, because we did have that issue. You know, how do we approve something so different, not understanding what's happening with the rest of the plaza?
I mean, we have existing yellow lettering with red lighting, and we don't have that on this sign.
Right.
Okay.
So it's already a step away.
And if they're redoing all of that, the rest of that inner, that inner court, if that's already in the, in the making, they're gonna have to replace those signs or carefully take them down. I'm not sure if yellow is gonna look good with taupe.
So Jeff, are you good on the verbiage?
Yeah.
Okay. So can we go back to old business?
Please.
Mary, your thoughts on 7AR5? Are you yes or no?
I'm not excited about it, but I don't have anything that could be considered a legitimate issue with it. So I'll defer to others who are more expert in commercial architecture.
So is that a non-vote? Or yes?
It's an approval.
Okay. Casey?
I was going for table. I felt like their previous design had more cohesiveness and more thought to the massing, the grouping of the windows. And I think if they're raising the structure, then you probably shouldn't treat this exactly as all the others with the same horizontal datums and the weird Eaves panel, fake spandrel above the windows when you literally are making the building taller. I think they just kind of stretched it and then shuffled all the windows, and now the windows don't relate at all to the other buildings. They're different proportions and different sizes, and then they don't relate with each other.
Right. Okay. So thank you. Chris?
I agree with Casey.
Okay. Andrew?
I guess I would approve this as presented because I think there's a lot of reasons why the windows were positioned the way they were based upon the interior functionality of the building. And he is trying to keep the same aesthetic between those buildings, and the distance between those buildings, you will never notice a 2-foot differential in height. So.
Thank you. Brian?
Yeah, I would approve it as presented.
Okay. Fran?
I approve it.
Okay. I approve. My only concern is that blank wall to the right of the entrance. And I don't know what they could do with it, but Jeff, approved as presented. 11 AR-1-15, 158 Sawgrass. Mary?
New door. Yeah, okay.
Casey?
Existing new door. You can keep it.
Okay, Chris?
Approved per submitted rendering.
It was funny the first time. It's still funny the second.
It's our blood
Brian?
sugars dropping.
Yeah, it's fine, approved.
Fran?
Approved.
Okay. Approves have it as presented. 1 AR-3-21, 99 Westland Ave. Architecture. Mary?
Yes, okay.
Casey?
I would lean towards approve. I think my only comment, once we clarified that the original existing drawings weren't correct, if this is actually matching the height, now the overhang on the left side of the porch, when looking at it, looks goofy. Before it had that extreme overhang on both sides. Now it's lopsided. So I would go towards approved, and that would be my only comment.
Okay. Let's see, where am I? Chris?
I'm going to say approve only because there is a certain degree of quirkiness with the houses along Westland. And I think that this may be a bit too massive for the house, but I don't think it's going to really have a negative effect on the neighborhood. And it's actually going to be a nice space to hang out. So it's kind of a begrudging approval.
Andrew?
Yeah, I would approve. If you take a look at some of the other porches in the very, very close proximity, some of them are quite a bit larger than this even. I approve.
Brian?
I too questioned the overhang on the left-hand side. I thought it, even though it matches the house, it looks a little unbalanced, but I'm fine with it. Approved.
Fran?
Approved.
Okay. Jeff, please note approved as presented.
Noted.
With quirkiness. 3 AR-2-21, 86 Seminole Way. Mary?
I'm looking for the, yeah. Yeah, I'm okay with this.
Casey?
Okay, approved.
Chris?
Another begrudging approval. I think there was a way for them to solve that imbalance in the garage, but it's not. It'll be fine. It'll look fine.
Andrew?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I agree. I mean, they could reduce the width of that door ever so slightly and create two equal planes on either side, but I approve it.
Brian?
Yep, approved.
Fran?
Approved.
Jeff, please note 3 AR-2-21 is approved as presented. On the new business, 4 AR-1-21, 55 Elmore, removing existing stoop and replacing it with a 10 by 28 covered porch. Mary?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, Casey?
It's fine with it architecturally. The only question I had is it seemed odd that they've got 6x6 posts going into the ground. It's like treating it like a deck, but this is actually attached. So
yeah,
I mean, it does require real foundations.
Yeah, so I assume the inspector will catch that.
Right.
So Jeff, please note that.
Pretend you can't see underground, Casey.
Then what?
You can't see underground.
Yeah, just cover it.
Chris?
I'm fine with it.
Casey, I'm gonna back up. Is that approval, Casey?
Yes, like I said, I think it's more of a code issue, so I don't know if we want to mention it, but someone else can figure it out.
Chris?
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Andrew?
I'm good with it.
Brian?
Yep, I'm fine with it.
Fran?
I approve.
Okay, I approve, but the only question is, are those posts wrapped in anything, or are they just 6x6s?
Wrapped in pine.
Okay, great. Are they painted?
Just trim at the top and bottom, so it's a 6x6 post with a little trim top and bottom.
Painted
Molding
white.
molding painted white to match. 6x6 post wrapped in pine, top and bottom trim, molding painted white to match. So I would assume that it was painted.
Yeah.
Okay, next
He
is,
said everything's white. Yeah.
And did you want to add a comment about gutter and downspout? I know it's
yeah.
talked about because I don't see it on the drawings.
yes, please.
Approved on condition?
Yeah.
Yep.
What's the condition for the downspouts?
That the gutter and the downspout shall not be placed on the front of the structure, but to the side of the structure to be out of view.
Okay.
As best as possible.
Just the downspout. The gutter should be on the front.
Correct.
Well, there should be a gutter. I don't think they note one, but they said they would have one.
I don't know what way north is, so.
I think
It's to the left.
Okay. We ready to move on to the next one? 295 Antlers Drive. That's our old ARB member Wasoon's house. Mary?
Yeah, I'm easy tonight. Approved.
Casey?
Yep, I was good with that. Approved.
Chris?
Yep, I like it. Approved.
Andrew?
Yeah, I would approve, but I just want to make note of the utilities.
Yeah.
On the side of the house need to be relocated appropriately and per code. He can do whatever he wants to the window, whether or not he wants to leave it, block it with glass, or do whatever. That's not an issue as long as per code it's not required.
You get that, Jeff?
Yep.
Are they within the setback? Do they need a variance at all?
I don't think they do, but I'll double check.
Okay. I just noticed that they're encroaching on that 36 feet or whatever. Brian?
Yep, I think it looks good. Approved.
Fran?
Approved. And I have to say, this was such a cheerful hand drawing. And I wish they had signed it. Like, look, they even wrote US mail on the mailbox and just the landscaping. Somebody really had a great day sitting there drawing this. And I really appreciated it.
Yeah, this
Excellent.
drawing is, you look at this and you're like, God, I kind of want to go on that porch, you know?
Yes.
Well, the perspective is not exactly de rigueur, but yeah, it's cute. It's very cute.
And they even got the building in the background too.
Yes, that's right.
They just lightly sketched it in.
Jeff, so note for an auction at the next RB.
Folk art.
Got it.
I approve. On to Dunroven Lane, 4A-3, 4AR-3-21, 28 Dunroven Lane. Mary?
Yeah, I guess my problem is with that front door, but yeah, this breezeway is okay.
Casey?
Still have an issue with the windows.
Table?
Yeah, I would. That's my vote. Table.
Chris?
Approve with the condition that the windows match that the new windows match the existing in light pattern and size. As I say that though, I think that overall the design would have been better if those windows were smaller, but I don't feel strong enough about that to table it.
Okay. Casey, are you good with what Chris says?
Do we think they can get 8/8 with that size? I mean, even 6/6 might work, but that's where I don't want to tell them what to do.
Well, allegedly it matches the size of the window that's shown. I'm not sure that that's the case.
Can you make the recommendation that they go for 8/8 or 6/6 in that dimension?
Yeah, we could do that. Give them the option 6/6 or 8/8. And then depending on the width, they'll make it work.
Okay. Did you get that, Jeff? Everyone agree on that?
Well, we don't know what other people want to do, if they want to approve it or not. We just deciding unilaterally to give this condition.
No, I'm throwing out the question
No, I'm not saying.
to the people, to the two who made the comments. Andrew.
I'm fine with approving with the condition to do the 6/6 or the 8/8 window for both the front and the back for the new addition.
Okay, Brian?
Ditto. I think that's a great idea.
Fran?
I agree to approve it with those conditions that you just stated.
Jeff, please note that it is approved with those conditions. Anyone have any other conditions they want? Gutters, downspouts?
The one thing I noticed after Chris started talking was that the trim board does look thinner in the way they drew it. Maybe we just say that the window trim should match existing. I understand there's no shutters, but we want to trim out the window and doors to match the existing trim.
Yeah, I did notice that too, but then there was a note in there that said that the trim to match existing, but
Okay.
yes, you're right, it hasn't been drawn that way. So I
It's also
agree that we should
crooked.
clarify it. Yeah, we should clarify it.
Did you get that, Jeff? Okay. Move on to 1835 Monroe Avenue, 4AR-4-21. I am recused from this. So Andy, you want to take over?
All right. Mary?
Yes, okay.
Casey?
I think very squashed in these Zoom calls. I'm pretty close to approving it. I think they could tweak the entry a little bit more, get it to relate to the orthodontist side and maybe even give it a little more height so it's not squished right on top. But the rest of it I was okay with.
So are you recommending that we table this application at this point for
I
those
don't know.
reasons?
I'm just telling you my thoughts. It depends on what everyone else says, and that doesn't necessarily require tabling.
Okay, then I'll hold on you for a moment. Chris?
I definitely want to table this. I don't think this is very well done, and I have some concerns about the detailing of the cornice. That this plaza has suffered a bad renovation once already, and I think it's about to get another one. So I have an issue with the detailing of it, and then also too the arbitrary stop of the design on the side. If they never do anything more, then there it's going to sit in a half completed state. So anyway, my vote's tabled.
Okay. Fran?
So they're calling out new tenant signage, typical, and they're not really showing any detail. But because it's called out and it's included in this, that makes me think that this is part of the approval and we don't have enough information on it.
No, signage is not part of the approval. Signage is a separate application all its own.
Okay,
So,
Okay.
so keep that keep that in your mind.
Okay.
We're not approving any signage whatsoever.
okay. All right, I agree with the comments about the height of the entry. And so I'm in agreement to table this.
Okay. Table, all right. Brian?
I was okay to approve it.
Okay, so we've got, Casey, I'll go back to you.
So I would definitely lean towards tabling with kind of saying that I mean, it's more of a concept drawing. And I think there's good points made that on something at this scale, we would probably want more detail. And maybe we convey that conceptually you're on the right path, but we still want more detail. And also, I still struggle with half of the building not being addressed. So table.
Okay. I personally, I would table this as well. And for some of the same things that have already been discussed. And if that's the case, we have 2 approves and the 4 tables. So Jeff, I think we want to table this.
Okay.
And then we need to come up with some of the reasons why. And I think one of them is detailing of the said improvements. We need more finite detail. The second is
the word finite. I mean, we're lacking detail here. We've got some horizontal metal thing. We have no idea what that material is.
okay, final detailing or more final detailing. I mean, they're never going to get to
finer detailing.
Okay.
That's the word I think we're looking for is.
Well, and I'm arguing it's not really fine detail, but I think it's lacking some basic information about what materials we're talking about here and the system for how that cornice is going to be built. I would suggest that we specifically request more detail on the material and system of fabrication and installation for the cornice and for the column wraps. I would also like to put out there, I'm not sold on these colors as being successful. You've got gray on gray on gray in Rochester, which has a gray sky for 6 months of the year.
You're not going to get me against that comment. I don't get it either, why people continue to use these colors in the city.
You know, I know it's tough with having to do this on Zoom, but I think we're at a point, especially with these bigger projects, we should have them submit real samples to town hall. And maybe, and then if we want to see it with, give us the ability to visit town hall, meet us outside, doesn't matter. Or the ability to go over there and see them with the actual existing brick,
That's a good idea. Maybe meet on site.
Yeah. Because, you can only do so much with these, digital versions. And when you're trying to match or work with an existing material, we really need to see it in person.
We can do that. And I can have them submit stuff and then be available to show it to anyone when they want to stop by.
That's great. I would appreciate that too.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chris, you want to include your comments as reasons for tabling? Everybody in agreement with Chris's comments as a reason for tabling?
Sure.
Okay. There was another comment that was thrown out about the height of the new entrance element. Casey, I believe you threw that out. Did you want to include that as part of the commentary on the tabling?
It depends on if the board agrees. I think it would be, he did agree that it'd be good to bring in the bronze framing to correlate back with the orthodontist. I think in doing so, that would also bring it up, because if you look at that elevation, which everyone shows the orthodontist, that bronze band is still above the adjacent cornice. So that would also kind of give it that hierarchy.
Okay,
I
so
agree.
if everybody agrees with that, we'd say incorporate some of the same detail for the orthodontist space onto the new entranceway as discussed.
I certainly agree. I would take it a step further, that entrance, that mall entrance needs more definition, that it's really a wimpy gesture in contrast to this anchor that they've created. I mean, I still would think approaching this plaza and not knowing anything about it, if I'm going to Matiaccio, I'm going through that left door. And if I want to get into the mall, I'm going to go in through the right. It's not strong enough.
Agreed. It needs even more hierarchy to compete.
Okay, Jeff, maybe you can write a comment, create better hierarchy of the entranceways into the mall, and to incorporate some of the same finishes and elements is being utilized on the orthodontist space.
Okay.
That makes sense, Chris, Casey, Fran, Mary?
Yes.
And we need to say something about the color.
That was part of Chris's commentary. Jeff, did you get that about the color?
I didn't put anything about the color, no.
Okay. How do we want to state that? I don't disagree, the gray and how it works with the brick. It's hard to say. Boy.
We asked them to consider alternate colors for the facade.
Yeah, propose an alternate color scheme, because this one, a little, somewhat less neutral.
Provide alternative color schemes that more closely relate to the brick coloration or the existing brick coloration of the building.
That makes it sound like you want them to match it. To me, I don't know if other people agree.
That's not my intent.
I don't know if the word harmonious gets that idea across, that it's got to work in concert, but not necessarily continue the same color scheme. I just think it's too flat, and I think
Well, the reason is the colors as shown in the rendering are basically the same level of tone and saturation. So even though they're different colors, they read like flat, as you said. So one of them has to be a little more pumped or a little less in tone for them to work together. And they're just keeping them on the same plane in terms of color typology. So that's why it's flat, and you're absolutely right, it is. So I think maybe if they have a little more contrast in tone or saturation or both, that might resolve that might provide an acceptable alternative. I'm not sure about that, but it's possible.
Yeah, there's also a small detail that I still don't understand with these columns, that the color seems to change below. And I don't know if that's them falsely representing a shadow that shouldn't be there.
No, they actually label as two different aluminum claddings, which I don't think is going to be successful.
Oof, yeah, no. And they haven't shown the shadow line of the cornice accurately, because it's in the same plane, or it's allegedly in the same plane as the column wraps, which are still wimpy, or taking a wimpy column and putting a wimpy wrap on it. I would say save your money, but see how the shadow line cruises right past, but they've represented it, or they.
Well, remember, that's what he said, is that horizontal is going to be the depth of the column. Because if you look,
There should be a break in that shadow every time it hits a column, and it's not there, and the column should be casting a shadow. So the way they've represented this here doesn't really reflect
I don't think that's a
what
shadow.
we're going to
though.
see, nor what they stated in their presentation. So there's a lot of problems here.
So table for a lot of problems?
I'd say, I'm really struggling with the wording, as you can tell, and maybe if we weren't recording, I could put it very succinctly. But the color scheme is too flat, and the representation of the detailing in the rendering may not. Maybe if the rendering were a better representation of the materials as well, maybe that's part of the issue, is that everything is so washed out that it's impossible to tell.
Can I just stop you just for a second, Chris? How about we ask them to provide an updated rendering that accurately depicts the color scheme and the combination of the colors on the facade?
And
I would
physical
agree with that.
samples,
It's
physical
one part.
samples too, yeah.
Physical samples we want to see, and then the other about the color is to provide alternative color schematics to provide accentuation. That's not correct, but
Contrast.
or contrast.
Color scheme invoking more contrast, and
I had
contrast I think would be sufficient. I want to tell them to put some energy into it, breathe
Well,
some.
you could say less neutral, more contrast and less neutral, and that might work. Because that's what the problem is, it's just neutral. It's neutral in tone, it's neutral in saturation, it's neutral in color.
I mean, is it fair to just say that this thing lacks any sort of dynamic, or it just kind of feels lifeless? And
It has no depth. It has no depth.
It's lacking depth.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what contrast gives you.
Reasonable.
Yep.
That's what contrast gives you, it gives you depth.
Yep. But I think that maybe the thing to tell them is that it's lacking depth.
Yeah, especially since they've removed all the awnings. That's part
That's
of the
it's
problem.
subjective, and they can say, what do they mean it's lacking depth? You know, they could do the same rendering and put more shadows on it. I don't know. No offense. I just think it's too vague.
Well, I mean, you can mix both and say it lacks depth, needs more contrast. You can say
That's
that.
good. That's a good compromise.
All right, Jeff, I'm putting you on the spot. What do you have?
Provide alternate color schemes to increase contrast and depth and still work with the brick.
That's good.
Okay. And the other conditions or the other comments?
Provide finer details on materials and construction of cornices and column wraps. Submit material samples and change entrance to incorporate details from the dentist side, and to create. I just have to go back and think of the word that you guys used. Increase the prominence of the entrance.
Hierarchy.
Hierarchy. Yeah.
I'm good with that word too.
Well, it should become more prominent than the orthodontist.
Okay.
Okay. Is everybody good with those reasons for tabling?
Should we do, okay, so we did the signage plan with the sign. Do we want, do we need to tie that into this about submitting plaza signage plan with it, or is that two separate?
Well, I think that you keep it separate because we tabled the sign based upon the sign, but we're asking in the signage, we're asking them to get the owner involved to make a pitch on what the remaining signage is going to be.
Okay, and then I guess my only question for the board would be, what do we want? What are the thoughts about the rest of the building? Do we really want to let them come back with and just address a little L shape, or do we want them to really, are we trying to press the architect and the developer to make a plan for the entire building, all sides?
Well, can the board invite the developer and the designer to present a more holistic proposal that would also include their intentions regarding the signage? The entire building, the signage, we want, this is impossible to adjudicate when we don't have enough context and completion, so.
Well, I think by tabling it, that's what you're asking them to do. You know, you're sort of saying, you know, we don't have the full
Context.
capacity to make a decision. I mean, honestly, I think you could with just approving the one sign and then forcing them to kind of come back and do the rest. But if, you know, if by tabling it, you're sort of asking them, we need to see the whole thing.
Yeah, okay.
So.
Well, I think you can say that because
Yeah, I think
they're not
it should be
intending to do the
explicit.
whole thing.
All right, then why don't we add, I mean, I want to make sure that the applications that are coming in, I mean, again, I make the statement about the orthodontists. That was the application from the orthodontist. Now we're pulling the developer into the orthodontist sign piece. So maybe we do add that as we would like to invite the developer and designers to discuss a more holistic solution to the signage or the intended signage for the remainder of the plaza.
I'm talking about the architecture of the building.
Well, talking about the architecture as well as the signage. I hear both coming up now. Both were raised, right?
Yeah. The key is to make sure that we're explicitly requesting their presence at the next meeting to talk this through.
But I almost like, at this point, I would rather see a conceptual drawing, exterior elevations for all, 8 sides, however many there are when you start going around this entire building. Because now you're changing the cornices, you're adding horizontal datums. And so as soon as you turn the corner, now your cornice depth is different. Then as you go around this building, you lose the vertical columns. Those only happen on the parking lot side. As you start going across the Taekwondo and the spa, now it's just ephes above brick. Then the cornice drops again as you get to the bridal store and panache. And then it pops up again and the columns come back as you get to Golf Tech. So I would say I want conceptual exterior elevations for this whole plaza, the entire building. And maybe, yes, they're phasing it, but then they can talk about that and they can tell us what their plan is, but at least we have a game plan for the entire building and we're not going to be stuck with cornices that don't match and color schemes that don't match and just end next to each other.
I can only presume and I can only assume that we will get the same answer. We have asked for that previously. And when we were looking at well, we did get a letter that suggested that they were going to do improvements for the remainder of the plaza and then it would be holistic in thought and process. And here's the first blush on that. So you're asking them again to do the same thing that they did for us previously. I just want to make sure that
this submission should have been that. So we approved the orthodontist with the letter stating that they would be coming back with a plan for the rest of the improvements. So this presentation, I would have expected seeing the rest of the building, not just the inner loop.
Okay. So I don't know where to go with that, Casey. Because
I think with the comment, that you're tabling it, you can pretty much say we need to see, the development of the entire building. Whether you're actually doing it or not right now, what will the rest of it look like?
Yeah, I think you're right, Brian. I think if we just table it for lack of a holistic information about the whole plaza holistically. And we can't make a decision about this until we have some commitment about what the aesthetics of this is going to be.
Jeff, one of the things that they'll come back with is, well, we're not working in the front of the building right now. They will come back and say that. Just say, look, you want us to approve this. We need to know what the whole thing's going to look like. And I don't think that's an unreasonable request, especially given, you know, everything that we're talking about. They should be able to accommodate that.
Yeah, and if they when they get around to the front, they want to do something differently, they always have the option to come in and propose that.
Yeah.
Theoretically.
I think we've done that in a lot of other places too, where there's an overall concept, and then if they deviate from that, they have to come back to the board.
Right.
And I think, remember that when you go back to the orthodontist side, it's a different color ethos. So that was kind of the first red flag. It's like, well, when you presented the orthodontist, you were still keeping the brown ethos in your future plan. Now it's changing to taupe gray. So now your dentist, your orthodontist doesn't match. So they're saying that they're going to go back and make it match, but now you're chasing the entire building brown versus taupe. Whereas when we approved the orthodontist, it was brown.
And it's still gonna be brown on that back face, and I'm wondering, when are they ever gonna get around to that?
Right.
So you won me over that. I really think that that's the next move, is to request and demand a comprehensive look at this whole thing.
And I don't think it's unreasonable. When we ever, accepted 2 sides out of 4 of a building being remodeled and nothing ties into the existing. We would never let a building remodel 2 out of 4 sides, and it has nothing to do with what's happening on the existing 2 sides that are remaining.
Okay. So let's add that into our commentary back, that we do want to see an overall plaza design, so we understand what all of the other facades will be doing before we approve anything.
Require that the stakeholders be present?
I don't know if we need to have the stakeholders present, as long as the presentation is a complete presentation. We would request that the plaza owner be in attendance to answer any of the questions that the designer cannot, but.
Well, yeah, because the designer might say, I don't know what the owner's intention is in that regard, or so on and so forth.
Yep.
That's what I mean.
I guess
I think
maybe
more productive, but you're right. I understand if we can't, require that.
I think we could request that the developer be in attendance at next month's meeting, if possible, to have a better discussion about the direction of the plaza.
Well, maybe Jeff can communicate that informally as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Jeff, do you have enough to go on?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. All right, let me close that one then.
All set.
Yeah.
So our next is 4AR-5-2151 Park Lane. Mary, approve or deny or table? Denied.
I do not like this. We're not seeing the view that you see from the road, Jeffrey. Thank you. Yeah. First of all, it doesn't work spatially. It's not big enough for vehicles to comfortably maneuver. Those columns are going to get banged up. The chimney is going to create a problem.
Do you want to table it, approve or deny?
I would.
All three?
Well, I can't, there's nothing about the actual structure that I think is abhorrent, except for the fact that he has a sliding window when everything else is different on the other facade. But I'm going to have to pass on making a definitive judgment on this. I would either table or deny it, but I wouldn't approve it. How's that for now?
One or the other, please.
Well, I wouldn't know what to say about tabling it because I don't think it's going to function well, but that's not a visual issue, so I'm stuck.
Yeah, well, you can ask them to come back with a different design or more improvements.
Yeah.
All right, Casey?
And I have so many reasons.
You
I
deny?
don't appreciate them pulling the wool over our eyes on closing off an entire garage.
It was in the drawings.
But it's not in the description. He didn't want to address it.
right?
There's no information on the new window or the new door, the location of it, the dimensions of it. And I'd love to know, Jeff, is that in the permit of them enclosing a garage space into making it part of the home?
They haven't put in a permit yet.
Okay. But table is my vote.
Table.
Thanks, Casey, for giving the good reasons, as usual.
Chris?
I vote deny that it fails functionally as an addition to the house.
Awesome.
Nice wording. Andrew?
I would table it based on further information about the infill wall. I would also table it to have further information and communication that the space underneath the carport can actually facilitate a turning vehicle, so that it becomes a safe structure. Because I am not convinced that they're going to be able to get in and out of that with a vehicle. Once you're in that space, you'll be able to open up a door, but that post is going to get, either the post or the chimney is going to take a toll. So I would table it for more information and for clarification on the spatial relationship for the car and the carport.
Okay, thank you.
And quite honestly, also for the positioning of the storage shed.
Okay. Yes. Brian?
I would table this, the overall dimensions that he has, what are they, approximately 12 by 20. It's about the average size for, a carport. The problem is you can't pull into it. The way that they've got the driveway right now, you mentioned, taking away some of the vegetation and stuff on the left-hand side. Well, they need to draw that in because right now you can't pull into it. So unless it's a double wide, like 20 by 20, you can't physically pull into it. So I would table it.
Fran? Thanks, Brian.
I'm good with tabling it for more information and or illustrating how, the clearances, how the car would navigate the new pavement and getting in and out.
Okay. Thank you. I elect to table it, and for all the above mentions.
Before we finalize the decision, Stuart, I want to ask the question.
Can I finish my comment?
If they prove out that functionally you can pull a car into this, I think it still fails as an addition to the house.
Yeah, before I'd like to finish my comments. Everyone mentioned great reasons. The other thing I think is there's no water management plan on this, which is I see as a huge risk on the asphalt, not only for the carport, but the watershed off the shed itself. So, okay, Chris, you can continue.
I was just going to say that based on what you've said, I mean, it seems like it's around the functional aspect of this, but let's say they prove it out that you can pull a Prius in there and that's their intent. I still think that it fails visually as an addition just because of how it's situated behind the chimney. And I think if you're going to, I want to deny it. I want to be clear, but if you're going to table it, I think you should really think about whether or not it looks like it will function, in addition to just whether or not they can somehow solve it with some very precise turning movement of a vehicle. The person that moves in may own an F-150. So
right.
I really think this is a bad move for this house, and it's going to have a negative impact on its value.
Yeah, I think at the size that they want to make it, it would certainly be a negative impact. If it was 16 by 20 or 20 by 20, it would be much more doable. It's just not. And it's not at all the size that they have it.
He said the reason for making it that width was so another vehicle could fit alongside it. It's like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
Mary, do you want to cast a vote?
Yeah, I already said I wanted to table it.
Okay.
I just didn't
wasn't clear.
I didn't know, here's what my problem was, Stuart, and I'll just be brief. It's a functional issue for me, and it does have visual ramifications, but it's not directly a visual thing. So that's why I was struggling with it. I don't believe it's been worked out. I agree with everything that everyone else has said. So now I feel more comfortable about it. I just was not in the condition to be the first person to answer on this one because I was so nonplussed by the whole thing.
Okay, Jeff, did you get all the comments written down? Thank you, Mary.
Yeah, I have for further info for infilling the wall, and then more info for the space into the carport, and show how a vehicle can be maneuvered in and what the clearances would be.
So one thing I was going to add, if we were having discussion about it, is if the carport did work, okay? One thing I would bring up is I think the height of the roof is, I think it's too high. I think it, for the function, there's no purpose for the height of it, and it's so high that it's encroaching in the second floor. So I don't think it's appropriate for a carport. And it's not because the slopes match. So I already drew that up. The side slope, the slope of the roof doesn't match the existing slope. So architecturally, even if the carport did work, that would be a comment that I would bring up, is that I don't think that's the appropriate height for the roof. My personal opinion.
I agree.
And I also
Everybody
don't,
go.
if we do a resubmission, can we request that they omit the shed from the drawings? Because I feel like they're trying to tie in like they're creating like a pool cabana, but I think that takes away from what we're trying to do. It's making it look like a building with double doors when that's really the shed beyond.
Yeah, I think I would at least have them dimension it or have some ghost lines there.
I can talk to him about that.
I would just caution against using the words "we want more information about." I guess I'm not making this point very well, but if they prove out that functionally it's fine, I think it still fails aesthetically. And so if you're only asking for more information, you're not going to be demanding a change. And so I don't think that's a strong enough statement to make.
Well, even if they come back with something that doesn't work, we can table it again or deny it.
My point is, if they show that it does work and they provide more information on the garage infill, then you're going to be approving something that fails visually and is really not, this is in no way an appropriate thing to put on this house. I'll just be that blunt with it. And I don't think that it works under any circumstance. So I feel strongly enough that this should be denied outright. But if the board wants to table it, I think you have to make sure that it's a strong enough statement that if you're assuming they're going to come back with some redesign, they may not. You may be forced to accept this exactly as it's drawn because they prove that it functions.
Chris, why are you so adamant that it fails visually?
This is just awful. There's no other way to put it. This is a carport tacked onto a house. It's got an enormous mass of a roof over columns being open underneath that is behind a chimney and slammed right up against a very ugly but unfortunate addition to this house. So it's bad on top of bad. And so when you consider it with the fact that the chimney is right there as somebody is sketching, and the mass of this is just so incredibly off and it's so ill proportioned, this is just in no way a good move for this house.
I think typically when I see these carports, the chimney's on the reverse side or the carport is on the reverse side. So I think you're right. I don't generally see the chimney on the same side. And I kind of wonder, is there something in code that says you can't do this? I'm kind of wondering now.
I don't know.
It's
I
just
don't know.
that nobody would, Brian. I mean, the reason
Well,
why you don't see it is
I mean,
nobody's
you
dumb
don't
enough to
generally,
do it
you
this
don't
way.
generally see that, right?
It's not a code thing, but you don't put a carport behind a chimney.
At least not a narrow one. You know, add 6 more feet and maybe it makes sense. And so it becomes a walkway under, you know, a covered walkway between your parked car and your house. But this is,
Well, and then you still have the issue of the massing of this. It's
Right.
so incredibly ill proportioned. It's just going to be spot on, dead, ugly.
I mean, if you're gonna get into details, I mean, the proposed window that we have no information on doesn't relate to the house. We would gig them for that, even if they drew it correctly and gave us the information. What are they doing with the garage?
I really want to start wrapping this up. It's 10 to 8.
Yeah.
We've discussed this one long enough. And Jeff, I assume you got all your details in your notes.
Yeah, I put something in there about explore reducing roof height and massing of the carport. Are people okay with that too?
I think explore was asked to be removed.
Okay.
I don't explore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
I
say
mean,
come
does
back.
everyone agree that the carport should be, if it worked, that the massing or the height is too large? Do we just say that? Or do some people think it works?
We can say that.
Okay.
Okay, we ready for 4AR-6-21? 1850 Brighton Henry Town Line Road.
Mentally, no?
Mary?
Well, I understand there's some issues with the how this window space is being treated, whether there are windows there or not. So I would really prefer to hear what those people have to say about that. So I would like to not take my turn right now, if that's okay.
Casey?
I agree. I think other people had stronger opinions and thoughts, so I will pass.
So is that a no vote when you say pass?
No, it means we
No,
want,
I'm going to the end.
we know that Chris is gonna say something.
It was a question for Casey.
Okay.
And just put me to the end of the list. I can be swayed either way, in all honesty, so there are people who have much better ideas on this than I do.
Chris?
Okay, so I'm first. I definitely want to table this, if not deny it. I don't think the concept's going to work as drawn. I don't understand why they're peeling off some of the brick that was at least giving some rhythm, proportion to the building. I question the lap siding still, and I definitely think they should screen the equipment. You know, they show perspectives when you're up close to the building, right? When you get further away, you're going to see that equipment, and it's a mistake that we made at the Jewish Center with those 3 greenhouses that they built, that they convinced us that everything was screened. But when you come up Winton Road, you see them, and they are an eyesore. So the only saving grace that this project has is it is on Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, so that it doesn't have a lot of neighbors around it that we need to be terribly concerned about. But I think the choice of materials here and the choice of how they're trying to execute this is they're trying to put the wrong, they're putting lipstick on a peg and they're doing it the wrong way. That this building doesn't have ribbon windows. You're not going to be able to create that look, especially with how it's built. So come back with something that works with the architecture and improves it, but isn't trying to fake its way into being something it's not.
Thank you. So that's a table.
I'll go with table for now.
Andrew?
Yeah, I would table this and I would echo Chris's consideration and thoughts. However, I'm not against taking off some of the brick pillars. I think some of the some of the elevations actually look better without all of that brick on it, but I agree that the materials that are being utilized may not be the best, albeit they're better than what's on it. And I am concerned that the ribbon windows will not be successful because it will literally be the same thing that's on the building today, where you have this blank space next to a space that's going to have reflective quality to it. So the material selections have to be, if they want the ribbon windows, then it has to be a ribbon window type of scenario. Otherwise, come back with a design that incorporates other materials around the surrounds of the windows and make it successful.
Thank you. Brian?
I guess I'll defer to what Chris and Andy said, only because the window comments I can't comprehend entirely, but I think they're valid. So I would vote to table it.
Fran?
I vote to table, and I agree with all comments. You know, the screening. I think that the facade is too large for this scale of material, the lap siding. And I do struggle too with trying to visualize how these ribbon windows are going to work. It is hard to see how that would be executed.
Real quick, did anyone ask if they're screening the generator in the back?
I think that they do. They have a fence. It's a lot shorter than the generator, at least in the.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
You're only allowed a 6'6" high fence.
Yep.
Without a variance.
Okay, before we go sideways, Mary?
I'm fine with the tabling, and I understand the reasons to a certain degree, and I follow what Brian said. Yes, it's I think that needs to be worked out with a little more integrity. However you guys want to say that, that's fine.
Okay, thank you. Casey?
I fully support all the reasons for tabling. I think my only connection would be between what Andy and Chris have said, because they're kind of the opposite. I think what it comes down to is massing and rhythm, and they need to figure it out. You know, I don't, like Andy said, I don't know if leaving all of the brick on there, existing brick, is going to help them out and make it look any better. But at the same time, ribbon windows with random brick piers isn't being successful. So I think they have to do a holistic look at the rhythm and the massing throughout all 4 elevations.
Sounds good. Jeff, please note, tabled as presented with all the comments made. Did you capture it all?
Yeah, I just want to, I mean, I think there's different discussions going on about the brick, and I think that Casey kind of clarified that, but.
You were able to write it down?
I'm gonna have the video too. I can go back and look at it.
Okay.
Are you asking them to look at different options for the windows and that band there, and different like siding materials? It seems like the whole thing is kind of being questioned.
Yeah, I think the material selection is in question for all of the siding. The rhythm and the massing of the brick columns on the facades is a question that needs to be resolved. And then a solution to prove that the ribbon window solution will actually work. Those are the 3 main things I think that have been consistent.
Okay.
I also agree with screening on the roof.
Yeah, screening of the equipment.
Okay.
You do have to agree, though, this is a little bit of a, this is bettering the look of the building.
But yeah, well, absolutely. The whole
So-
block.
That's the struggle. Like you hate to table it because it's an
Yeah.
improvement, but at the same time, it's like, is it that good of an improvement?
Right.
I do feel for them though, because it sounds like they did try to push better ideas and that if their clients really, making it difficult. So, but hopefully this helps them.
Well,
All right.
guys, I'm gonna sign off. I think we're done, right?
Yeah, I'd like to
Yeah.
close. I want to thank everyone for participating and really having great input. So we'll see everyone next month. Stay healthy, stay happy.
Thank
Still
you.
Zoom.
All right.
Good night.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Bye-bye.
You're muted.
That was exciting.
Yeah. Remember when I said it was gonna end at like 7 o'clock?
That's a little bit of 7 o'clock in one time zone, not this time zone.
Yeah. All right, man. I'm gonna head out.
Yeah. It was good. Later, man. Have a good night.
Okay.